All right, folks, it's another episode of America's Hometown Horror that's brought to you yet again by Shine Through Window Cleaning.
Yet again,
baby. Shine Through Window Cleaning is a family-owned and operated company that proudly serves Plymouth and the surrounding area. They treat your home or business like they would treat their own, and they believe in building their reputation on every job they do. Get in touch with Shine Through today to discuss your window cleaning, gutter cleaning, and power washing needs at 781-812-9189. That's 781-812-9189 or at shinethroughwindowcleaning.com. That's Shine, T-H-R-U, Window Cleaning. The power of Christ compels you to call Shine Through.
I'm impressed at how well you read.
Window Cleaning.
You seem like you had that pretty much.
It's almost like you memorized it.
I've done it a bunch of times.
Because I don't think you can. You can't read that well. So you must have memorized it.
I mean, I like to think I can read that well, but I guess maybe not.
That quickly?
I don't know.
Without stuttering? No?
It's just, I don't really.
I don't know. You don't stutter, so I don't know what the... Just ignore me. I don't know what I'm
I appreciate that. But yeah, call Shine Through Window Cleaning today, and here we go.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
What is up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of America's Hometown Horror, episode number 34. And, of course, as always, I am joined by my usual co-hosts, Andrew and Kat. Guys, what's going on?
Same old thing.
Same old thing?
Hola.
Drinking and... yeah.
Kat, what's up with you?
Not much. What's up with you?
Not a whole lot. Just hanging out.
Why are you asking so many questions, goddammit?
I mean, it's kind of my job to ask questions.
Apparently.
But we are here in the studio again tonight to record an episode about one of our favorite horror movies, or some of our favorite horror movies, another classic. And that, of course, is The Exorcist. But with us in studio tonight, we have a very special guest. First time on America's Hometown Horror.
Not to make you feel uncomfortable, but you're very special.
Put you on the spot. In the
Matt
spotlight.
Audette.
What's going on?
What's going on,
Happy
man?
to be here. I'm excited. It's one of my
Welcome. How's
movies
everything?
Of all time. So.
I know. Thanks so much for coming on. We're excited to have you. I wanted to ask you a couple things real quick before we kind of jump into news and a little bit about The Exorcist. Obviously you're a big horror fan. That's why we wanted to get you on this episode. So just to give everybody kind of like a baseline as to where you are for horror, okay? What are your top 3 favorite horror movies? If you could name 3.
Does it have to be like in a special order or just top 3 in general?
Top 3 in general is fine.
The Exorcist, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Rosemary's Baby.
Okay.
I was hoping you were going to list the T-shirt you're wearing.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then do you have an upcoming horror release that you're the most excited for? Something that you've been looking forward to for a while?
I guess I've been following that Halloween reboot thing kind of closely. So I guess they released the trailer for it too, and it looks pretty dope. So
yeah,
I'm going to have to go with that. Halloween Kills next October.
Only one more year from October.
Oh my gosh,
so fucking
I know.
stupid.
Better be worth it.
It's like
I think it will be.
I
I
really
liked the
that
first one. It was good. What do you think of the titles for the next 2?
What is it? Halloween Kills.
And then Halloween Ends.
I'm into it.
Yeah?
You know what I love is
Keep
that
it simple.
Danny McBride's attached to it. I love Danny McBride.
Danny McBride's phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, I guess...
His best role, though, is as Kenny Powers.
Oh, of course. Eastbound and
that's-
Down was great. I guess I respect they're not calling them Halloween 2 and 3 because those titles were already taken, I guess. But it's just... They're interesting titles, but...
They're really bragging about the kill count in this one, too. It's
Yeah?
supposed to be like a bloodbath.
Okay.
So...
Yeah, I'm into it. I mean, I love Halloween. It's the original one's one of my favorites of all time. So, and I thought the remake was really good.
Close runner-up to my top 3.
Best Halloween, Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch is very
That's
good.
what
I don't know if
say,
it's
'cause
my
I'm a
favorite.
weirdo. No, because I legitimately think that one's the best. Because I like weird.
Also, looking forward to the Candyman remake, the Jordan Peele Candyman remake. That looks pretty cool. Ghostbusters sequel that was supposed to come out this summer. That looks pretty cool.
Is that real?
Or is that a remake?
Yeah, no. So it's a sequel to Ghostbusters 2.
Or a prequel?
No, it's a sequel. It's supposed to be.
I'm just going to keep asking questions so you give me the answer I want.
It's supposed to be Egon's family, so like Egon's grandchildren.
Oh, that's right.
And they go out to like a
that was
farmhouse
so
and they
long
find
ago
you,
that
like,
we watched that trailer and it was supposed to be out this summer, right?
I know.
He's the only one that's not
Then COVID
still
happened.
alive, right? In like real life.
Yes. Yeah, Ernie
Bummer.
Hudson, and then Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd are all still alive, but he's not, unfortunately. But yeah, I think that's going to be cool too. But all right, awesome. Well, thanks for coming on again, man. We're excited to have you. And I think it's particularly relevant that you said, first thing out of your mouth, favorite horror movie was The Exorcist. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to have you on tonight to talk about that.
Oh yeah.
But before we get into The Exorcist, which I think we'll have a pretty lengthy conversation about, Kat's favorite topic that seems to come up week after week, and that's just a couple of quick news items. But so Kat
love the news, Matt.
loves the news, quote unquote.
She would say that it's not quick enough.
No.
I mean, I think it's particularly important if you're a horror fan. Like, sometimes you may not read Bloody Disgusting or whatever other websites are out there and keep up on this news. So I think it's important if people listen to us, we let them know about this stuff.
If those few people that do listen to us, they should listen to this part.
You mean the hundreds of thousands of people that listen to us? Is that what you mean?
Hundreds of thousands?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm
This is
joking.
a delusion?
I'm joking.
Okay.
Clearly. Yes, I'm joking.
No, but if you're going to listen to us, this is the part you should listen to.
Yeah.
It's the only part of relevance.
Go on with the news, please.
Any of you guys watch, I know, Kat, we haven't. Either of you guys watched Lovecraft Country yet? The new HBO show that came out on Sunday
saw
night?
that on
I didn't know that
That's
it already
the
came
one
out.
I had wanted
No.
to see. We saw this trailer like months ago. I forgot
Yeah,
about
and it's
it.
finally out. It debuted on Sunday night. It's
Did you watch it?
I have not seen it yet.
I was going to
Yeah,
say, I'm like,
I'm
you
gonna
watched it
watch it
without
home.
me?
Yeah.
Jeez, acts like he watched it.
Well, that's what I...
Have you watched this yet? You
No,
idiots?
I had that. No,
Like,
I
no,
had
we need
that
no
out there
advice, so fuck
as a
you.
question
Thanks,
for
Mike.
you guys to see if anyone else had, because I haven't yet. So
I felt like you were judging me.
I never judge you. I never judge you.
That's all I...
Couple of newsworthy points. Okay, we talked a little bit about Barrett's Haunted Mansion last week when we were doing our non-horror scariest movies,
Correct.
right? And they had mentioned basically that they were going to be doing some sort of an event this year that was not the haunted house, not the cell, not their typical experience, but something else new. So it turns out they've actually announced what that's going to be now. So Matt, do you like going to haunted houses? You've been to Barrett's? You like going to stuff like that?
I went to Barrett's. I used to go to all the time, like when I was in high school, even a few years after that. And then one of me and Sarah's first dates was there.
Oh, no way.
that's
She
awesome.
fucking hated it.
Oh.
I wonder if Mike was the one that horrified you. Cause
I did work there one year.
Really? I
Yeah,
didn't know
I
that.
did. Yeah, I worked there one season, like 4 or 5 times, and I much more enjoy being a guest walking through than working. It was definitely fun scaring people.
Yeah.
But it's
I'm
work.
glad that I
It's
did
your
it.
job.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, I was
There's a
like,
lot of
I really
rules
wish I
and
was
stuff,
walking
too.
through. It is. It's definitely very disciplined. They do an awesome job. That's why I love it so much. But I was excited to hear that they were going to do something for this season.
Yeah,
and
I just read that yesterday.
Yeah. So as it turns out, it's not actually going to be some sort. I thought maybe they might do something where they lead you through the house by appointment only with masks on, socially distant type thing. But it's not going to be that. So what they're calling it is a quote unquote all new drive-in experience where each weekend they're going to be playing a horror double feature. You go there, you
That's
park,
awesome.
Yeah, that's super.
and then they're going to have all the roaming actors that they always had in line, roaming from car to car, trying to scare the shit out of you, which I think is a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
you could
I
scare
mean,
the
if
shit
you're
out
in
of
the
somebody
middle of-
when they're in a car. That's a good idea.
Oh,
yeah, you don't hear them. You don't hear the
Oh, yeah.
footsteps. You got
Yeah.
your windows
Bang.
rolled up. You're
Yep.
listening to probably because usually drive-ins do like a special radio station.
Yep.
So yeah, you're.
No, it would be the scariest
Yeah.
thing though if you were in the car. It would be the Zodiac killer just comes up.
Well, yeah, that really happened to a few people, so that would
That's
actually
what I'm
be
saying.
horrifying.
That'd be
Yeah, that would be the worst case.
That would be if you're gonna scare people, do that.
Way to go morbid there, Andrew. Way to go morbid.
Just some dude just charging at you. You're like, oh my god, he's got
Is
a
this
gun.
an
Oh my God,
attraction
he's
or
got a
am
gun.
I just dead? And the guy's like, bang. That's fucked.
Yeah, so new event from Barrett's Haunted Mansion coming out this fall. They haven't announced what movies they're going to be doing yet, but I mean, we'll definitely be going. I would love to go and check that out. And also,
Oh, yeah.
while you're sitting there in your car, apparently the Abington Ale House will deliver food to you.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so they're all kind
I'm
of
like, I like that.
same
part.
ownership group. They're all partnering together to
Can I also play Keno
Bring you something
in
new.
my car?
Yeah, right?
Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that would just
If I'm
be...
not driving,
Like,
can you
that
bring
would
me
be
a beer?
amazing.
They don't have a
Amazing.
Keno app yet. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they do.
oh, they probably do, actually. Well,
But you have to live in Rhode Island to use it.
I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have one
Yeah,
in
New Hampshire,
Massachusetts.
yeah, 'cause
Otherwise,
Massachusetts-
that would know
I
about
was
it.
like, if I would
like, I'm
know
pretty
about
sure
that.
there's a-
Like,
Yeah, when
I think a lot of
when we
people
saw
know
you
about that.
this past weekend, we were playing a lot of Keno.
Oh yeah, I sat down and played 20 games in a row.
oh, yeah.
I
we
won
did
all
the
my
same.
money back though, so I was like, all right.
we actually we had a pretty good day too. We had a pretty good day.
We were only down like $25 at the end of the day, which
Yeah,
isn't
that's
like
not bad.
that's not a total loss
Best
for like
one I
4
ever had?
hours.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that's fair.
$1, 5 numbers.
That's
No,
awesome.
actually, was it 6 numbers? It was $1,600.
Wow.
Regardless for a $1 bet.
One of our neighbors actually plays that way.
One
she
number,
does one number
yeah.
and she
does
wins
like
big if she
5
hits it.
times or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow, that's a pretty.
it's a bold move.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't
Move
one
caught-
number. I got
it's paid off
5.
for a few times.
It was
not
$1.
like, you know,
I got
overwhelming
5 out of
or
6
anything, but-
numbers.
Oh,
No,
well, that's
6
just
out of
lucky.
6.
That's just lucky.
But I bet $1 and I won $1,600
Right, that's crazy.
was
That's
great.
insane.
at the Ming Dynasty. In Marshfield.
Yeah.
Shout
Wow.
out. They were
Shout out to
recently,
the Ming.
they were recently in the news for
Yeah,
not
recently in the
social
news.
distancing.
Not a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They were
for
recently
not being
in-
very chill.
They were like, you know what? We're going to do whatever we want.
But, oh man, did we get off topic there?
I know.
That's okay. It's fine. It's fine. So I think we were talking about no Kino at Massachusetts, unfortunately. So no Kino at the Barrett's Haunted Mansion event. But you can go there, watch some pretty cool horror movies, and get scared by people walking around. So I am all the way the fuck in on that.
I wish they had Kino though.
I might try to go every weekend.
I mean, hey, we should go
That'd
sometime.
be fun.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We could do a live podcast.
Another place.
That'd be fun.
I don't know if they'd allow that.
Why?
No, you just wear a microphone. We just walk around.
We're watching a movie.
That's
well,
true.
I guess we're on their grounds. We'd have to. We'll figure it out.
We'd
If
have
we're
to-
sitting in a
Yeah.
car, like,
Yeah.
they can't stop
Yeah.
us.
I guess you're
What
right.
are they going to come by and be like, what are you doing in there? I'm bootlegging Jaws. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, no.
I am excited to see what they actually do for double features, though, because I remember like a few years back we went and they had like movie clips playing on a big screen when you
Yep.
were underneath the tent, and they stopped doing that for a while in favor of like other types of it. Like they brought in the Cell, like that second attraction and everything.
No, they saw the movies.
They have
they
cool
didn't
little
always.
facts about 'em, too.
They didn't always. Which that was cool too. So
I feel
I
like
like
they had
that.
those for
I think
a
they'll do a good
while.
job.
Remember,
with
one of
this.
my favorite ones is that they did like a big Stephen King stream,
that's
and
awesome.
there's so much Pet Cemetery in there, and that movie is fucking great.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That's
The
a
original
kind of a
one's way
guilty
better
pleasure
than the
in
new one.
terms of like when you think about it.
The remake
Bob
sucks.
Tobbs.
No, the remake was trash.
The remake
Yeah,
was
okay.
terrible.
At least-
It was terrible.
I watched 10
I was
minutes
so
of it.
disappointed.
It was like, I don't know what I figured it out, but I like can watch 10 minutes of a movie and be like, I don't like this at all.
I wanted to like it so much with John Lithgow and Jason Clarke.
John
and-
Lithgow-
John Lithgow was the
phenomenal.
only good part of
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, his cigarette stained fucking white.
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Best role ever, John Lithgow. Not Harry and the Henderson. Although it should be.
Twilight
But
Zone, the movie.
Nope.
Dexter.
The Trinity Killer, Dexter.
Dude,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Phenomenal.
that was my favorite season of that show.
That's the best season. Season 4?
Cat's
Dude.
Cat's
I
a
just
big
started
Dexter
rewatching
person.
that.
the
I
whole
love
book of, like the whole
Dexter.
like Book of Revelations type thing, like with
Oh.
Wormwood and like shit like that. Fucking crazy, dude. I loved that.
Yeah.
That's up there as one of the best seasons, up there with True Detective Season 1.
Oof. I mean, it's tough to beat True Detective season
True Detective
1.
season 1 is the best season of television I've ever seen in my life.
I know.
It's hard to
it's
compete
so
with
good.
that.
It's so
Almost impossible.
fucking good. But I could
You
go
and
off.
Mike can bond.
But we
over
digress.
that.
I know.
mean,
I
a
could go.
serious
I
bond.
could go off about True Detective.
Did you know
season
Mike
I'm
wrote an
not-
article
I'm
about
like,
this?
no.
I read it.
It got
How long
published.
have
I
you been talking?
enjoyed
We
reading
haven't
it very
even
much.
gotten
Thank
going
you.
yet.
Thank you. See,
try
they
to
make
get
fun of
better.
me when I write stuff,
No,
but
it's
I
not making
appreciate
fun
it.
of you.
No, that was
It's,
great.
it's a little.
They bust my balls a
busting
little
your
bit. They're my
balls.
co-hosts. They have to, so it's fine.
Yeah.
If you ask me to proofread something, I'm going to bust your balls on it.
Yeah, that's true. I did ask you to proofread that, but
I didn't read
That's awesome.
any
That
of
you,
it
that's
yet.
that's the second.
I'm
article.
impressed.
Is that the
Mike-
second article you've had?
yes,
Okay.
second one. Yep.
I'm more than impressed because that's dedication.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
You don't have to kiss my ass though.
I don't kiss your ass. You guys take the appreciation when you get it.
Okay, I do appreciate it, and thank you all very much. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
In addition to Barrett's Haunted Mansion, another thing that's going to be open this season, one of the most famous haunted attractions, not only in New England, but in the country, it's a place called Haunted Overload, which is in
okay.
New Hampshire. Have you heard of this one before?
I know, but I thought you were going to say Spooky World.
So I haven't heard anything about Spooky
Spooky
World yet. That's one of my personal favorites
Me
because
too.
I've been going since it was in Berlin when I was really, really young. But Haunted Overload has been voted one of the top 13 haunted attractions in the country twice.
I like how they do top 13.
Top 13. It's
Very interesting.
It's
Very
an
spooky.
Yeah.
unlucky
Those
number.
spooky numbers.
Unlucky number. It also, in
I'm clever.
2014, it won ABC's Great Halloween Fright Fight. So they're pretty famous. They're out there. They announced they're going to be doing something for this season. They're known for incredibly immersive sets and a lot of detail.
Cool.
Apparently, they offer 3 different tours where you can go during the day. So if you don't want to be scared by people, you can walk through everything and just see what they built during the day. But you can also do 2 other experiences where there are people scaring you. So they're going to be open this season. They already announced it. They said the tickets go on sale September 1st. And there are, quote, many protocols in place to keep people safe. Details coming soon.
Cool.
That's another one that I have not personally been to, but I would like to this year, especially if
Yeah.
not too much shit is going to be opening
I
up.
think my coworker went there and he said it was awesome.
Okay.
Like really.
I've only heard good things, but it is
Yeah.
like way in the sticks in New Hampshire. It's in like Lee.
Yeah.
It's like at least 2 hours from here.
Yeah, that's still like that. The more like out of nowhere you are, I feel like the better it is. Because if
for
you're like
sure.
in a corn maze, like
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
yeah,
If I'm at my
Literally,
neighbor's
yeah.
house, you're like, oh, that's boring.
yeah.
Did you see Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark? The
No,
movie that came
I
out
didn't.
recently? There's a pretty
I
good
heard
scene.
like really mixed reviews about it. I got a little
I
bummed
liked
out,
it.
so.
You liked it when we watched it too.
I loved
And
the stories though.
the stories are awesome, and they had a really good corn maze scene, so
Yeah.
it was good. So check that one out.
They nailed the from like what I saw with the trailer. Like they nailed the like
The look.
effects of like the
Yeah.
illustrations, like pretty spot on.
Yeah.
They really did. You saw that one too, right?
It's
No?
on, isn't it on
It was on Prime for a while.
Prime on
Amazon.
Shudder?
No, not even on Shudder. It was just on
Oh.
Amazon Prime. We just subscribed to Shudder through Amazon
Gotcha.
Prime, so some of the shit like blends together. from
I
time
have
to
it
time.
through YouTube TV,
Nice.
so I feel like sometimes I'm missing out on stuff if I was to have the actual full app.
Yeah, I get the same vibe too because sometimes when I open Amazon and I go to the Shudder channel, like I have to search for some of the newer stuff. It doesn't like
Yep.
automatically pop up.
Me too.
You ever seen the? It's like Southbound. It's like 4 different directors making 4 different shorts. It's like XXX. It's like all female directors.
Oh yeah, I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about.
XX, is it XX?
I don't know what it. I don't remember what it's
The
called.
first
but I know
one's
what
like
you're
this,
talking
like
about. Yeah.
family that's starving and like they can't eat food. Like the kid like won't eat anything, and just starves himself to death. It's just like 4 short stories essentially, 4
Sounds
short
awful.
movies, all directed by women. That's like the big thing is
Yeah.
that women did. It's impressive, you know.
And it's about, like-
they're women.
Like,
So, hey,
like
there you go.
kids
Good
that are
job.
starving?
No, there's 4. The first one is.
what are you
No,
talking about?
I was giving a brief synopsis of something that I thought I'd
Like,
seen it.
This
No,
is full of
No,
pretty
yeah, I
pretty
have-
I was
sad.
like, so like it made no sense. Dude, well, I don't want to give it away. That's like the
Yeah,
most.
you don't want to spoil it.
All right, so
Right,
basically,
right.
no, yeah, because it's a short story. So if I say anything, I'm gonna.
I
give it away.
understand.
It's
So there's people
Andrew
eating
time on the show.
You guys are fucking assholes. No,
Hey, we have to bust your balls a little bit, right? Remember?
It's like the short
No,
story
I only
where
bust
these
your
kids
balls.
like starve
You
and
bust her
by
balls pretty
women,
good,
so
too.
it's about
no, like there's like the kids. All of a sudden, they get on a subway with their mom, and this guy has a box, and he opens up the box, and the
like
kid
in
looks
7,
inside it.
it's like his mom.
You don't even care. You're not even paying attention to
No.
what I just said. So the guy opens up the box, and the kid looks inside it, and all of a sudden he won't eat anything. He's like traumatized by what was inside that
Because it
box.
was
So he doesn't eat any food, and he eventually just starves to death. So I'm just gonna give away the whole, and then the whole family just eventually starves to death.
Wow.
wow.
It was a very. I thought it was
Sounds like a
very
real
good-
uplifter.
It's my level.
Yes, it does sound
That's
like an
my
Andrew
favorite
movie.
type of horror.
I will give you that. Yes.
That is an Andrew
I-
short
You know what?
story.
I'll take your side. I love like a good bleak, just like fuck, like
Yeah, just
I
sad.
do-
God
God
damn
damn
it!
it.
Like, I feel terrible.
Like, for instance, you're a big Stephen King guy. The Mist. I think the ending of that movie, while a total kick in the balls, is an awesome ending.
also different than the book.
Very different than the short story. Yes. Yes, it
And I
is.
only know that not because I read anything, because you said that
Yes,
one time.
I did say that. But
that-
honestly, it's like 130 pages. You could read it in like a
I
half
could,
hour.
but I choose not to.
Yeah,
Because I'd rather watch the movie for 2 hours.
I know.
And read
But the
100
I don't
stories-
remember what actual book collection that's in off the top of my head.
I don't think it's Night Shift.
No. It's way later.
Ah,
It might be like Everything's Eventual.
Did you ever read his
or
new
something.
stuff?
I have not read
Frank
his
said he
latest one.
got Audible and he said it was really good.
Yes, he was telling me that too.
I've heard If It Bleeds was very. I haven't
Yeah,
read it.
that's what he. Yeah,
I tried. See, I'm working my way through his older stuff. I'm actually on a little hiatus from Stephen King. I'm reading Silence of the Lambs, and that shit's
Ooh.
fucking awesome. I read Red Dragon in like 3 days,
That's awesome.
and you know what? He's like Thomas Harris is such a good writer, and his storytelling is so dope. But it's so like it's at like a breakneck pace because it's not. He doesn't beat around the bush. It's just he's like telling the fucking story, and he's just like getting to it, and it's fucking.
so
awesome.
it's not like the movie with dialogue. It's just like
Well, there's the dialogue and stuff,
But
but
it's-
it's like there's not like he's not spending a page and a half on like the detail of the fucking girl's
see,
uniform.
that's a
Like,
book
yeah.
I would read then.
Yeah,
That's a big
really
thing
good.
with-
You
because
should read it
one of my
because
favorite
it's
books was The
intense.
Gunslinger.
Well, I
That
think
was
one of the
fantastic.
reasons, and I think a lot
I
of
haven't gotten to
directors.
the Dark Tower yet.
That's the only one I read.
I read the first one,
It was
and
like
I'm
120 pages.
like, I want to get back into it, but I feel like one big thing that a lot of people didn't get about Stephen King stuff is Stephen King's books are very long, they're very detailed, right? So like you said, he takes like a page and a half to describe like the most minute aspect of something.
Yes.
He just
Yeah.
fucking
Well, if you're gonna
leaves-
make
It's very
it
easy to
1,200
kind of like
pages.
brush through a page if you have to.
Exactly. So I feel like now, especially with like the It movies, like they divided it up into 2 chapters, and they're doing like the good Pet Cemetery. I thought would be a good one too, but that didn't work
It missed
out.
a lot of good stuff that they.
It did. But I thought they were overall too. I loved the second one. I don't know about
Really?
you. I did. I loved it. Oh,
I thought it was really cringy because it tried to be too funny.
You didn't like it either, Kat. The second It.
I loved the first one.
I love the first one. I hate the second one.
The second one is just like their like banter is just super dumb. I was like, this
See,
is fucking cringy.
A
Yeah.
lot of people say that. Like,
I like the first one way better than the
Yeah.
second one. The
I
second
thought there
one
were
was
some good
overdone.
actors. I
No.
thought Bill Hader was great. I loved the effects with It. I loved how they went like big and cosmic and
no.
I
crazy.
really, the one thing I
The
like about
best
that,
part of the movie was the beginning with the.
I was just gonna say
that opening scene is the best
That
part of the movie.
opening scene
That
sets
part
up
of the
for a
book is one of the
fucked up
scariest
movie.
parts of the
That's
whole
the part
book.
with the carnival with the
where they just beat him up.
Adrian, I don't
Yes.
remember what his last name is. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like disturbing to watch. I remember
But
we
that's
saw
a
that
brutal,
like
yeah.
opening Thursday
me too.
night, and we were sitting there and like I was
We were
like,
probably
I
only
knew,
rows away from each other.
yeah,
dude.
I knew it was. Did you see it in Kingston?
Here's the
Yeah,
problem,
we
though.
did.
Yep.
I knew it was coming, and I was just like, ooh. Like,
Here's the problem,
ooh,
though. It makes
this
sense
is-
in the book. I get that.
Well, the way it's laid out in the
You
book is
can't-
sweet too.
Yeah, but you can't start a movie off like that and end the way you did.
Well,
That should be like you can't be like
they were also
Like, it's
like
fucked.
assuming that if you're watching this movie, you saw the first one and you're familiar with Stephen King's work.
Yeah.
I feel like personally, they like okay, you're a Stephen King fan. Like this movie's going to get a little bit more.
But even
into,
Stephen
like,
King
Yeah.
agrees that the movie sucks at the end. In his own movie, he did that.
Did
Wait,
you
in-
you
in
read the
two?
book, right?
Yes,
All right. So one
and
of the
actually
one
re-listened
things.
to the audiobook with Steven Weber narrating
really?
it. Yeah,
That's funny.
it was weird. It was definitely strange. But it was good.
That's weird.
One of my favorite, I will say my favorite part about that whole book, and they touched on it a tiny bit in the first one, but the death of Patrick Hockstetter was the scariest chapter of Stephen King I've ever read,
Yeah.
hands down.
I don't read, so I wouldn't.
But I haven't read everything, so
I feel bad.
I
don't
think
I
you guys
have
can
no
talk.
comment.
What is your?
Mike, you have a buddy to talk books with
I
now.
know,
I
I
was
know.
like, me and Andrew don't read.
I love
What's
it.
your favorite King book?
that I've read so far?
Yes.
Salem's Lot.
Me too. That's
See,
my favorite.
you guys should
Oh,
do an episode
shit.
on just books you've read, because that will be a whole
And I swear to God, I'm not
episode.
Like,
agreeing with you. I think
these
that's his
two
best.
making out?
Yeah.
Sarah read
It's
that
awesome.
in one day.
Yeah, it's awesome.
She crushed it.
And I love his short stories. Like I love all those collections, especially
Yeah.
Night Shift and the
Sometimes
one
they
that
come
has-
back
yeah.
was very, very creepy.
Yeah.
I was reading that in the
pretty good, too.
daytime, and I was like, fuck, dude. Like,
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Okay, so where
Keep
were
going
we?
with the
Where were we?
news. I don't know where the
No,
hell we
we're
were
off
with
the news. We're done.
We're
So
all
I think
done?
we are
Oh
ready
my
to
gosh,
move on
yay.
to the topic du jour, folks.
All right.
All right, folks, and of course, we already mentioned this before, but we are here to talk about The Exorcist tonight, which
Oh,
is
are we?
yes, we are. And obviously, The Exorcist is one of the most famous or infamous horror movies of all time, often considered to be one of the scariest movies, if not the scariest movie ever made, which, at the time that I saw it, I happen to agree with. I think over time I've kind of gotten a little desensitized to it, but I mean, it's still a phenomenal movie that I love, and I'm very excited to talk about it. So what we usually do, Matt, I know we sent you the outline before. We'll talk about, what our overall thoughts on the movies are. We'll run through some facts about making the movie, and just talk about whatever comes up.
Yeah.
So
Mike likes to do his little bits,
Yeah,
who's your
that's fine.
VIP?
Gotta be
Who's your-
organized. It's not a VIP. We've done 34 episodes now. It's the MVP of the movie.
VIP, MVP. It's
But obviously,
it's
Matt,
fine,
you're
it's
our
fine.
guest, so I will defer to you. So I know you said this is your favorite horror movie. What makes this so special to you? Why do you love it? Just talk to me about The Exorcist.
All right. So for me, I think the movie in general is there's very few movies, and I'll classify Rosemary's Baby as another one of them, just in relevance to time and kind of genre, because I consider this a satanic movie. So that being said, this wasn't made like. They were like, let's go make the scariest movie of all time. They were like, let's go make a really good movie about something really, really fucking scary. And I think that that's how they, really nailed it. And to me, that's one of my favorite aspects. The other thing is just the hype of the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's wild. So, yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
They didn't really set out to make it the scariest movie ever made. They made a movie about the scariest shit ever. That's insane.
Yes,
that's
exactly,
a
yeah.
great
Yeah.
way to put it. I never even really thought of it that way.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Mind blown.
Yeah, I know. Andrew, what about you? I know you rewatched this movie recently, but I'm sure you've seen it a bunch of
I
times.
mean-
What do you think?
It's my favorite paranormal movie. It's the one that, you have, like you said, you have Rosemary's Baby that was before it, though, which is fucked up, too.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about, paranormal horror movies, for some reason, this movie just comes to mind with it. It's the makeup is phenomenal in this movie. I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
A lot of the special effects for 1973 pretty damn good. The only part that I'll give it, like, the puke.
The
Like,
puke was
what is this?
oozy,
What is
yeah.
this? It's like the snots from, like,
It's like
Nickelodeon
slime.
slime.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Getting gacked.
Like,
Yeah.
they nailed the makeup, they nailed the special effects, and then it's just, it's just
You just
green,
needed a little
like,
bit more yellow to it to make it a little bit more realistic.
Just give it some chunks. Throw some chunks in it.
Yeah, chunks would
It
be
just,
good.
I was like,
supposed
this
to
isn't
be-
anything I've ever seen
It's
before.
it's supposed to be like pea soup residue.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
why
where
it's
are the
green.
peas?
Why is
They
it pea
probably
s-
were all digested.
That's not pea soup residue. It's way too lime green.
Well, it's supposed
No,
to be pea
it
soup.
should have
Yeah.
been
That's
more
what it's
like
supposed to be vomiting.
sage green, like a lighter green.
Okay.
It
one,
just seemed a
one
little too
point I want
radioactive.
to say with because you brought up the makeup. Obviously, like Reagan's makeup's wild, but how about Father Karras?
I know.
Max von. I didn't know that he wasn't like an old man until
here's
like,
the thing.
I just said
like
the same
probably
So-
like
I know.
8-9 months ago.
I watched this
such a
movie
good
yesterday, and I was like, they're like, oh, her brother's here. So the brother of his mom's like 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
And his brother's there, and then Father Karras is there. And I'm like, why does her brother look the same age as her son? Like, he looks old as fuck just with the makeup on
Right.
and shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's like, gotta be like,
Right.
oh, it's like Craig T. Nelson in Poltergeist. He's
Yeah.
32 years old.
Yeah, I know.
Look,
Yeah,
that
that's
guy's like
definitely
50.
a hard sell.
Like, what are
That's
you
a hard
talking
sell
about?
there. But like, yeah. So like, I remember like when Max von Sydow was in Game of Thrones when he was playing the Three-Eyed Raven. I was like, my God, how does he look the same age now as he did when he was in The Exorcist
Right.
in
Yeah,
1970
'cause he was
fucking
40 in the Exorcist.
Yeah, like Jesus.
I
Christ.
did not know that
Yeah.
until like recently. I was like, wow, that guy's like was a young guy.
Yeah.
He was probably the same age as
Jason Miller.
Jason Miller. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had to have been close, I
Yeah.
would think, right? But I mean, he seems like one of those guys to me, like he just was never young. He just like was
Yeah.
an old man when he was like fucking Curious Case of Benjamin Button. He just hopped out of the womb.
Oh,
and
is
was
he,
an
is
old
he,
man.
is he like,
Benjamin
is
Button
he like,
disease, dude.
wait, is he like Angela Lansbury?
No, oh my God! All right, so you have
He
to tell
kind of
Matt.
is,
You have to
though.
tell Matt the Angela Lansbury story. You have to catch him up to speed because he.
Angela Lansbury
doesn't
sounds
know.
like a similar to Stephen Glansbury.
Do you want me to tell the story?
Yes,
or would you
I
like
do.
to tell it?
No, you go ahead.
So we were talking about the news
You're
a
a
few
good
weeks
storyteller.
back about the Unsolved Mysteries reboot on Netflix. Did you happen to watch that yet?
I watched the one with the dude that fell off the roof.
Yes,
Wild.
that was a great one.
oh my
wild.
gosh,
It's
keep
it's very
going.
good, but there's like
They're
I think it's
good.
like 5 episodes, and they're all good. I liked it, and I love the original show. So we came to the topic of Unsolved Mysteries, and I was like, "Oh yeah, the original show is fantastic." And Kat's like, "Yeah, that's the one that's hosted by Angela Lansbury, right?" And we were like, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, Unsolved Mysteries. It was hosted by Angela Lansbury, right?" And we were like,
No.
"No, it's Robert Stack. He's a man. He was a man that was in Beavis and Butthead Do America. He was an FBI agent, and she got it confused with Murder She Wrote."
Yeah.
Which isn't even
Nice
okay,
play,
yeah.
you know.
And
You
we
might have
had
just said Wilford Brimley.
It's pretty
But you don't even know what
valid.
diabetes
I mean,
is.
so over the last few episodes, we've tried to purposefully or not,
Not
indirectly
purposefully,
reference
but-
Angela Lansbury in some way. The only
Somebody
way it
just
came up
throws it in.
organically. So you're talking about Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs. We did an episode on the Hannibal TV show a few weeks back.
Yeah.
We were talking about the books, and apparently in the Hannibal TV show, Gillian Anderson's role almost went to Angela Lansbury. So we brought that up, and they were like, "How
What a
the
different
fuck?"
scope.
Yeah,
Still
that
coming
was
up.
a totally
Yeah.
different
Yeah,
person.
so now we
That's
try
a
and
whole
bring up
different-
Angela
It's like when we
Lansbury.
used to bring up Brazzers for like
yes.
the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, Andrew had a Brazzers reference in I think each of the first like 6 episodes.
Yeah, he's gotten off
Fair
of
enough.
Brazzers though.
Yeah, well, one of our earliest fans really happened to like that quite a bit. I'm
Yeah.
surprised you've gotten off that a little bit, but Cat.
Okay.
I was too busy thinking about fucking Angela Lansbury.
I love Angela Lansbury.
I wasn't thinking about big tits. I was
All right.
thinking about wrinkly, saggy tits.
God.
Well, speaking of Angela Lansbury,
Anyway.
Cat.
Just saying.
So you had told me that when you rewatched The Exorcist for this show, it was the first time you'd probably seen it since you've been a kid. You think,
Yeah,
right?
honestly, like since I was like a teenager, I would say.
What did you think rewatching?
I hated it.
Oh, excuse me. He
I
asked
assumed
me.
that would be your answer.
But I mean, you don't need to answer for
This
me.
movie's
unless you'd
terrible.
like to.
That's
I
usually
will
what comes
say-
out of her mouth.
It was a little long. I don't know if I had the attention span last time I saw it or not or whatever, but I was just like, wow, I don't remember this movie being this long.
It is long.
It's
yeah.
long, but
2 hours and like 20 minutes, I think.
yeah,
That's
oh,
long
yeah.
for a-
It's a long movie.
There's a lot of parts where he's
That's
just
long
smoking a
for
cigarette.
a movie in general.
Yes.
It's like, why do we need to see him smoking a cigarette?
No.
it
But,
sets the mood.
Yeah.
Even, like, I didn't
Kinda
know,
true,
like, when I first started the movie, I was like, what is this archaeological dig going on? Like,
That may be actually...
that was
Sorry, I
so
love this
random.
movie, and it does slightly tie into the end, but not even really. It just seems unnecessary.
I think it's important. I think it's
I
important.
mean, no,
Is it?
they do.
You would
because
kill
they
so get the same
flash.
effect without it.
That's who Pazuzu is.
Right, they flash to it at the end. They flash
No,
the
I know
statue.
that.
Well, I think it also probably serves as a plot device to show the fact that Father Merrin has lots of experience with evil.
Right.
And that he's been chasing that evil his entire
Exactly.
life and trying to kind of...
Yeah, but could you have made that
Erase
scene
that
like 3 minutes?
You
him
could've.
going face to face with the statue. You got the
That was the most...
hyenas or the
that was
dogs
the,
or
that
whatever
was the
going
only...
off. Yeah.
That was the creepiest part of that scene.
Yeah.
So if they just focus in on that, but like it's like 10 minutes up to him, like rambling to people that can't speak English.
That
Yeah.
was so scary that I feel like they just skim over. Like, they just, like, it happens and then they just, like...
And then, then it goes, and now it's
Yeah.
now you're
See
in
you
Now
later,
you're
now
with
you're in the
Reagan.
movie.
present day.
Don't
This
get me
is-
wrong,
yeah.
like I sound like an asshole, but I'm not besmirching any of this. Like, I love that part of the movie. Just thinking of ways to trim it down a little bit because it is a little excessive. They could do an hour and a half with that movie and not even miss a beat.
Well, I
I
think...
think
know.
no.
I don't know.
They give
Well,
you that
so-
atmosphere.
So
Like,
for
and
me,
I love
like, there's
slow
not one
burns,
part
but-
about that movie that I honestly don't like.
Yeah.
So I can sit through that whole movie and enjoy every minute of it.
But there's
So-
so many
Because it
parts
is
where
slow
it's just-
burn, but you need the necessary buildup of her being the innocent child
Right.
to really
Yeah,
make the
that's a good
fucked up little
I-
monster
I-
that she becomes.
I gotta be
scary.
honest. I prefer Linda Blair's character, the child, better when it's possessed than when it's normal. It's creepy as fuck when it's like,
Oh, that's not... She's a cute little
baby."
kid. She's just an innocent little kid,
Yeah,
and they
no,
play
her-
that up. Like,
I don't like it.
all right, fair
That was
enough.
weird. I agree.
So,
I like
okay.
prefer the possessed version of her better.
So,
Yeah,
Kat,
okay.
all right, so we established that you think it's long, but
Fair.
what did you think of it? Did you like it?
I liked it, yes.
Did you really like it? Did you just
Did I
kind of
really-
like it?
I feel like you're lying.
You give it
I feel
the
like
cat
you-
two
No,
thumbs up. Like,
I
what?
think it's a
normally a
classic
cat's
movie
two
for a
thumbs.
No, it's a classic movie for a reason.
Yep.
It's a great movie. I mean, it's something that, like, you know, they set you up to this family that this girl who is very innocent and is just like, hi, mommy, whatever. Like, she goes to bed. Like, she seems like she's in good hands, and then all of a sudden, like, she gets possessed, and they said there were rats in the attic. Like, you get all the little hints and stuff. Like, it's something that could happen that is kind of scary. That, like, you're like, oh, well, they were just in, like, their own home, and you're like, so, like, you're looking around being like, what's going on in my home?
Well,
Like,
they play
is
with-
that,
they
like,
play
They play with the Ouija board.
They play with the,
Yeah.
oh,
I love how she's just so fucking nonchalant about it. What do you got there? Oh, it's a Ouija board. Oh, you know how to use this? Like,
But
you
did you
fucking
not-
psycho.
I mean,
It's like, why are you
but I
playing
did
with
that
that?
as a
point, like,
kid.
No,
of
they
course,
didn't
you know
know.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
but
Yeah.
now it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
But wait,
get that out of my
who-
house.
Who, did
You
not do
idiot.
that as a kid? I mean, you guys must have all done.
I've used a Ouija board.
Yeah, I have two.
Like,
Craig has.
I have. Have you?
I've never actually used it.
Never?
Really?
I've never had the opportunity. I would use it in a heartbeat.
I used
'cause
to
it's
as
one
a
of the
kid,
kind.
and like my friend would be like, "I'm moving it, or you're moving it," and I'm like, "No,
I would
whatever."
prefer
And
to do
was
it just by myself because then I would know whether it's getting
right,
done or not.
exactly. But
There's
in the
a-
same sense,
Well, that's why you have the little spin that it does.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's sketchy.
There's
Yeah.
a really cool podcast out there.
If
It's
you have a
called
Ouija board now, that would be a podcast.
no, we
right
are not
there.
having a Ouija board in this house. No, pass.
You already have a
Pass.
child.
This
You
is
can have
great.
a Ouija board.
2020 is already
Do it
been
in your
fucked up.
house.
I know,
Dude.
you don't get any
Yeah,
worse.
We don't
I'm
need to
like,
summon
that's-
demons.
I know, I know.
You,
Shouldn't we then?
Andrew,
No,
you
that
know
would
what?
seem like
I'll
the right
buy
time to do
you a
it.
Ouija board, and we can do it at Mark Drive. We're not doing it in this house.
Oh, no, if I get a Ouija board, you don't get to partake.
Fair.
If
Fair
you're not-
enough. I don't want to
It's
partake.
mine.
But
I'm
you
going to
can't
cast my own demons
You
and
can't.
spell them on you.
There's a
Okay.
really
You,
there's a
Kat.
really cool podcast called Spooked that
Yeah.
tells all sorts of true paranormal stories. And there's a guy that tells a story. He went to a film festival at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, which is where Stephen King was inspired to write The Shining. And him and a bunch of his friends used a Ouija board in one of the hotel rooms, and it's a fucking crazy story.
Oh, yeah,
It's
I
so
can't.
good. It's so scary. But yeah, that shit. I don't know if I'd want to fuck
I'm
around with
not
it in my
gonna mess
house
with
right
it. But
now.
if you want to buy
Andrew,
it in
your house, we can do
place,
it.
I mean,
You know.
No, we'll go to the John
Yeah.
Carver Inn and do it there.
That's a good idea. There
I
we
would,
go.
I would do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it in my
here.
house.
No.
I don't want those demons floating around there.
Could leech
So-
on
You
you.
Think I'm
Right, yeah.
insane?
I don't want any of that.
Well, back to The Exorcist. So what I would say about this movie, there's a reason. We said it's one of the greatest horror movies ever made, one of the most influential, and there's a reason for that, right? I think it's also one of the most important, and I think that can't be overlooked, right? Back when this was made, it kind of showed audiences that horror was not cheap thrills, not just for kids, not just for giggles. Very different from some of the other horror that came out. Like, obviously, Rosemary's Baby came out beforehand, but The Exorcist, along with Rosemary's Baby, kind of ushered horror into that, I hate the term, but almost into that, like, 70s, quote-unquote, elevated horror. Mm-hmm. I think I hate that fucking term, but it is.
I was going to say, pause, sorry. Mm-hmm. They even mentioned in The Exorcist, mentioned to Debbie Reynolds. Who's the fucking person that... Sorry. I'm like... Word vomit.
Linda Blair?
Who's the person that got killed by the Manson murders that was in the...
Sharon Tate.
Oh, Sharon Tate.
Sharon Tate.
Yeah.
But there was someone else, and they were, like, talking about it in The Exorcist, and was like, oh, do you want to go see this movie? Do you want to go see this movie by so-and-so and whoever else is in this? And, like, they were like...
Roman
I think
Polanski?
you were right with Debbie Reynolds.
Was it Debbie Reynolds?
You might be right.
But it was in that
How do you
whole
remember
same like
this?
time period. I just watched it.
I watched it
Yeah.
the other night, too.
Yeah. No, you're
I
right.
probably watch this movie 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So I was like, but that's in the whole same time period as like Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist.
Yeah.
So, like,
Rosemary's
it's
Baby was
not
Mia
far
Farrow.
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
I don't know, you just watched Rosemary's Baby recently, too.
I did,
For the first
yes.
time ever.
That's a crazy movie.
It is.
Well, we were watching, but actually, so the whole thing that I started with, the whole Manson murder, Rosemary's Baby, whatever, was when we were on our way back from Pennsylvania, which is almost a year ago today, like a couple of days ago. Mm-hmm. But it's about a 6.5-hour drive or so, and we listened to, when I wasn't sleeping, a Charles Manson murder podcast.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because it was right around when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out, so there was a big interest in Manson
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So we listened to an awesome podcast
So
about
we
it.
were listening to this whole thing, and like, I am not a big talk radio podcast listener in the car. I need music. I don't know. But so we listened to this, and I was like, this is kind of interesting. Like, I could kind of get behind this. So then all of a sudden I was like, all right, well then, like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out, which was awesome.
Phenomenal.
Movie kicked ass.
Oh,
dude.
so
And,
good.
Yeah.
like, I kind of got a little bit more of an interest in, like, we were watching Mindhunter.
Oh, that show's great, too. Yeah.
So good.
And that
Yeah, Manson was
also
in that.
touched the Manson and, like, all
Well,
these
the
other
same actor
serial
that plays
killers.
Charles
So,
Manson in
like,
Mindhunter also played Charles Manson in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right. So it was just,
Yeah.
it was kind of all relative at the same time. And then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and then we're talking about, like, we haven't done Rosemary's Baby episode, but we will have you back.
Yeah, we need to do
For
that
sure.
one. We're
We'll do that
overdue.
with him.
I know.
Oh, yes. And, but it was kind of relative to, like, The Exorcist, because it came out in, like, kind of the
Yeah.
same time frame. So
Well,
that's...
and Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist both led to movies like The Omen, The Sentinel, Amityville Horror, which we talked about before.
Oh, we haven't done an Amityville Horror.
We haven't.
Do you think there's any link
Like
between
horror-
Damien and Damien?
You never know. Maybe it's a shared universe. Whoa. But
Would you include Suspiria in that?
That movie's fucking awesome.
I watched
Yeah.
that last Thursday with
The
my
original,
buddy.
not that
yeah,
remake
yeah,
on
yeah,
Amazon,
the
yeah.
original. My buddy had never seen it before, and it was my buddy Jeff, who I used to do
Yep.
my podcast with, and he came over. We had been out drinking, and he had to drive back to like Rhode Island. I was like, crash on my couch, bro. Like, fuck it. He's like, all right. I was like, let's watch Suspiria. So, yeah.
That's a good choice.
You know what I
like
didn't
it.
realize is that movie's 2 hours and 40
Oh, wait.
fucking minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Way
It's very,
too
very long.
That
Very
ended
long.
at about 3 a.m.
Yes.
But oh my god, he loved it. He was like, "That movie's crazy." And yeah. So I didn't know if you added that into like your
No,
like,
but that's a
satanic
good
kind of, like,
point. That's
you know what I
a
mean?
very good point. But
Well-
I mean, like it led to those types of movies, and Suspiria obviously is an Italian movie, right? But like movies
Gallio,
with
or
well-known,
what's
established,
Argento.
yeah,
Dario
Argento.
Argento. That's
Movies with well-known, established actors in horror movies. So like you have Gregory Peck in The Omen.
Yep.
And you have James Brolin in like the Amityville Horror.
He was in the
so
Birds
like
too, right?
it started to turn a little bit more serious in the 70s at this point for horror movies, and The Exorcist played a
Like,
huge
even like
role. in
Ellen
that.
Burstyn too. Like
Yes.
Mia Farrow.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So-
Yes, absolutely. So, in The Exorcist, directly responsible for that, along with Rosemary's Baby. But, I mean, for me, I remember the first time I saw this movie, I thought it was one of the most viscerally terrifying movies I'd ever seen. Scared the shit out of me. I saw it probably way too young of an age. Thanks again,
How old?
Dad, if you're listening. Probably 7 or 8. Jesus
That's
Christ.
fucked.
Yeah, I was real young. And, yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of disturbing imagery and themes.
Yeah.
A billion.
Like as an adult
yes.
that you don't pick up as when you're a kid, because you see obviously the special effects and the stuff and all that shit, when you're a kid, but
And
when
just
you're
her
an adult.
face alone is scary. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, she's a scary looking.
But like
person.
even like like the themes of like as an adult, right? As you get older, like your child becoming sick, the death of a parent, like loss of faith related to Father Karras, like he's having a crisis of faith when all this is going on. Good versus evil, like those types of things, which kind of really give it a whole different level of meaning when you watch it when you're older. And I think while some of the special effects may be dated for 2020, I mean, they were groundbreaking at the time. And in 1973, I couldn't even imagine watching it in movies.
Honestly,
In
my opinion, like with the special effects, for the most part, like you said with like the puke and stuff, it's
That's about it, though.
right. But
It's all
otherwise,
real.
dude, it holds up.
Like the
Yeah, it does. It sure does. I mean, at least
like the makeup.
I know, I agree. The
holds up
makeup's
so well.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's the only part that seems out of place. It's
Yeah.
like, did all this work? He's just everything perfect. This is your puke or whatever. Like,
But like, who's ever done that before?
no, nobody.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Who's
so
ever
it's
had
like, so it's not even that
12-year-old
bad.
projectile
but you're like,
vomit on a
oh
face.
man, the problem is
Yep.
I'm like, everything else is perfect, and then you do this. Like, what are you doing?
If that's the worst thing they
That's
missed,
probably
then
the worst thing in that movie.
I'll take it. Yeah.
You know, did you remember probably the most fucked up scene in the movie, if that's a thing, It's
Yes,
when-
it's a thing for this movie. Sure. Yeah.
is when
Go ahead.
what's her name, Linda Blair's
Reagan.
Reagan. That's it. Is fucking
she-
herself with the
With
crucifix.
the
crucifix
crucifix.
thing.
Yeah,
And then
that
takes her
was my
mom's
spot.
face.
And then
That's what
says,
I'm
lick
saying.
it.
When
When
she
Yeah.
she throws her,
Yeah,
though,
dude.
so when that scream, when her mom lands, she
Real.
actually broke
Yeah, I have that in
her.
here. Yep.
She has a spinal injury from
Yes. Yes.
Linda
Permanent.
Blair got a spinal injury
She
too.
did.
When they
Probably when they were doing the
flinging her
fucking
up and down.
up
on the
and
bed.
down. Yeah, that makes
Wow,
sense.
yeah.
Also covered in cursed films, which we talked about
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to lay a couple of other 1973 horror movies on you. Obviously, this is the best, I think, but it's actually, for the early 70s, some decent stuff in here. So The Wicker Man,
Yep.
which you and I were talking
Yeah,
about.
I love
we were all
that
talking
one.
about beforehand. The original, The Crazies. The
Yeah,
Romero,
I
The
actually
Crazies.
watched that for the first time
Yep.
a month ago. It's
I like
on-
that's a good remake
It's
too.
on
Prime,
There's an
Amazon.
app called Midnight Pulp,
Okay.
and it has just like your greatest like 70s exploitation, and they have like mad like kung fu and like
Oh, nice.
crazy shit like that. So it's pretty wide variety.
Smitty
but
would love that. She loves
that's
that.
on there. That movie is a trip because it just like starts. Like, and you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
it starts like in the middle of like a nuclear fucking.
yeah, no,
war
it's just like
center.
they're like kids in a house running around, and then a dude comes
Yeah.
in and starts destroying shit, and you're like, okay, I was like, I was like, did the movie start like 20 minutes into it? Like,
He was like,
what the
"Where's
fuck is going on?"
Timothy Oliphant?
Yeah.
He hasn't even shown up yet." The movie's already
Also
gone.
in 73, The Legend of Hell House, which is based on a book by Richard Matheson, one of my favorite authors. If you love
I'm
Stephen
still waiting
King,
for my first
you would
edition
love,
copy.
You would love him.
Yeah.
And then obviously, not really horror, but Westworld.
Really?
The movie that the TV
Oh, yeah.
show is based on came out in 1973.
Interesting. Do you watch Westworld now?
So
No, I
weird.
don't,
That
no.
movie's
Oh.
You're
kinda
better off.
fucking bogus.
No. The TV show on HBO.
Oh no, but the movie's kind of ridiculous.
We bailed.
Oh.
We bailed. So obviously, that's
We
the best.
bailed on what?
On Westworld. We didn't finish the most
On
recent
HBO?
season. Yeah.
Shit, we didn't finish it.
Because it was terrible this season.
At least somebody remembers
Well,
what you're
I
watching.
want to finish it. What? We didn't finish it.
We sure can, but I will be.
I love
tuned out.
Westworld.
I know. It's okay. All right, so
You didn't even tell me that we didn't finish it.
you knew you were a willing participant in not continuing Westworld. But
I don't know about that.
it's okay. I
But-
digress.
All right.
So I think it's clear that The Exorcist is the best horror movie of 73, but I think the bigger question is for 1970s horror, where this might rank for you guys. So here are some of the other contenders, okay? Alien, Jaws, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Omen, Carrie, the original Hills Have Eyes, and Suspiria. Halloween was Halloween I mentioned, but I mean that's a murderer's
That
row
is a
of horror
murderer's
movies
row.
right there.
It is. They're
Well,
all
then-
so different.
Yeah,
Like Alien and Jaws, you can kind of put together.
I think so.
Suspiria, Omen, and Exorcist, you can put together, and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween, you put together.
Yeah.
They're all in their own little, and then Carrie, I think, kind of stands out. That's its own little.
So for me,
movie.
I think personally,
Alien.
Alien, Jaws, Halloween are all 5-star movies. The Exorcist is a 5-star movie. I consider all three of those movies to be. I like them a little more.
So is this a non-answer?
No, I'm saying that I think The Exorcist is probably 4th ranked in the 70s.
Oh, okay. I thought you were giving it. You said 5-star, 5-star.
I'm obsessed with Alien
Non-answer.
and Jaws, and I love Halloween, and I just think I love The Exorcist too, but I just think I like those movies a little bit better than I do The Exorcist.
I would go top to bottom. Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween,
Jason, Freddy?
Jaws, Alien. Ooh, I know. That was tough. Those were hard.
I mean, it's just a matter of degrees at this point.
Yeah.
I think, right? I mean,
and then
you're splitting
Suspiria, Carrie.
Okay. Yeah, Carrie, I like, but
I haven't seen
on it, and like you're only.
Suspiria.
I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is number 1 for me.
Wait,
Yeah.
so I'm confused.
Aliens up there, top 3.
I'm not
Alien
even-
grosses me the fuck out.
That movie, no, the part at the end when,
why I
it's,
love it.
when it's in the ship,
So
like
fucked.
part of it, and just bleh, I'm like, oh my god.
The face huggers fucking freak me
Yeah,
out. And they're
it's really-
very real looking for a 70s
It's-
special effects movie. Like, they're very slimy and wiggly, and they do stuff, so.
I think that Alien is just designed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This
when
is
you
a
watch it,
different level horror
know?
movie, though.
Hey,
I don't think you
listen,
can compare it to Alien or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like we said.
Yeah, they're all different movies, but
Yeah.
I mean, for my personal taste,
Jaws,
That's
to
What
me,
movie scared me the
is
most?
very fucked
Texas
up.
Chainsaw Massacre.
see, I think Alien
Oh.
scared me the most, or Alien or Jaws, I think scared me the most.
Well, I haven't seen Alien.
Well, I
Jaws
certainly
gets
wasn't going to
scary
the
every
ocean.
time I watch it.
Yeah, it was.
I don't
There.
fucking go in the ocean.
I'm
bro.
never
Like,
going. I don't go to the beach because
Yeah.
they're
oh,
there.
you can go to the
There's
beach.
fucking jellyfish. And
Oh my
sand.
gosh, and sand.
Sharks
Oh,
and
yeah,
like
well,
sand.
that's the beach.
Sand spiders
Yeah, I
suck.
hate sand.
Oh, crabs and jellyfish. and
But
all
dude,
that
Jaws,
shit.
that opening scene in Jaws is like
The scariest thing
it's
ever.
It's breathtaking and how scary
It,
it is.
It's so
really
good.
is. It's a kind of a master class in how to scare the shit out of somebody.
That could be
in
a
the first
short
10 minutes of a
film,
movie.
and it would still be
Yeah.
one of the scariest movies. of all time.
I agree with you.
It could be that opening scene alone.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Just her
favorite thing
coming
about
up like
that
it's just like holy shit, dude! Imagine that, like you
Oh,
just,
yeah.
and then her scream get fucking pulled around, just like boop,
Yep.
and that's it. She's fucking dead. It's like
The best thing about that
bro.
scene is that I know that I will never put myself in that situation.
Me
Absolutely
too.
not.
Ever.
Nope.
Never, ever,
It's like-
ever, ever.
So when I grew
And
up
I'm not
down
one
in
to
Georgia,
show off my drunk naked
we
body.
used to go to
anyway, so-
fucking Okefenokee Swamp
Okay.
down in Georgia, which was a bunch of alligators, and they send you out in a canoe, no matter what experience level you have. So, fuck that. Like, I don't want to go out in that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you can go golfing down in Georgia, and there's fucking
oh
alligators.
yeah, well, I used to go golfing all the time.
Yeah.
There'd be giant alligators. And you're like, man.
and they're huge, dude. They're
Oh, yeah.
dinosaurs.
But
big
when
boys,
they're
yeah.
not in the water, you're not worried about them because that's when they're just getting energy.
We were down in New Orleans a few Octobers ago, and we did the alligator
A few
tour.
Octobers ago.
Yeah, and
I like how you did that.
my God, they just congregate to the boat. There's so many, and some of
Because they
them
know they're
are
going to get fed.
huge. Huge. Like I could think of nothing less. And these guys that do the boat tours, they just love them. They
Yeah.
they take them home for pets and shit. You can pay me enough to jump in that water. Hi, Otis.
Who
but,
would
uh,
you pay to do that?
I know.
I wouldn't.
I
No,
guess.
I don't think anyone should.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. It doesn't matter how much you're gonna get paid.
Crocodile.
You're going to be
and
dead,
pets
so you're
and
not going to get
waters,
paid
I
shit.
mean-
You're dead. You got eaten.
All right, so back to The Exorcist here. A couple quick facts about the movie. So The Exorcist was based on the 1971 novel, which was written by William Peter Blatty, who also served as the producer and screenwriter for the movie. Directed by William Friedkin, also called Billy Friedkin. He also directed The French Connection, which was a huge, famous movie that won a bunch
Gene
of Oscars.
Hackman? Good movie.
Gene Hackman.
Great
Hackman! Blue Chips, and he also did Bug, which was a horror movie that came out not too long ago.
I think 2005,
5 or 6,
Yeah.
something like that.
Hey,
Was that
I
as
love
good
it.
as the
Anything with
stuff?
Michael Shannon, I'll watch.
Michael Shannon? You could just have a fucking picture of Michael Shannon, and you could call it.
And you'd be
scary movie.
horrified.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's a horrifying
Exactly.
looking
That
person.
movie was fucked up.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely fucked up.
Has he done anything since then?
He was good in
I
The
don't think so.
Iceman.
He
Did
hasn't
you ever
really
see
done
The
a lot.
Iceman?
I mean, for
Billy Friedkin.
Oh.
I don't think so. Not really. Nothing recently. Nothing of note.
so Iceman was his.
Michael
oh,
Shannon.
Michael Shannon.
I was thinking
Oh,
Michael
okay.
Shannon. That was a good movie where he's like a hitman.
Yeah.
He's
that
also
was
great
good.
in Boardwalk Empire too. That's
Well,
really-
yeah, he's such a
great in
fucking
that.
weirdo.
Yeah, he is.
the
He's a
problem.
weird dude.
You're like,
He's a weird dude.
He's got like a lazy
but,
eye or some shit. You're like, oh.
And yeah, also The
Not
Exorcist it obviously starred Max von Sydow, Jason Miller, Ellen Burstyn, Linda Blair, and one that not too many people know, Mercedes McCambridge, who played the voice of
double,
Pazuzu the Demon, which more on her later.
Her name is Mercedes.
Mercedes. Yeah,
She
Mercedes
does
McCambridge.
she does some stunt work too, pretty much.
Yeah,
Including that infamous crucifix scene.
that's correct. That's
Oh,
correct. So The Exorcist was one of 6 horror films to be nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Can you guys guess what the other ones are?
What year? 73?
73. There have been 1, 2, 3, 5 others since then.
Are you saying
I'm almost positive I know all of them.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
wanna hear it.
Go.
Jaws.
Bing,
Silence of the Lambs, which won.
bing,
Sixth Sense.
bing,
Get Out.
bing.
And...
Oh.
This last one's tough.
I
A lot
know.
of people don't consider it horror. Aronofsky, Mila Kunis.
Black Swan.
Yep.
Oh, so this was... I thought this was 1973 for some
No.
reason.
So the
Really?
the only 6 horror films to be nominated for the Best
okay.
Picture Oscar are those ones. Yeah, which I mean, Black Swan. I guess you could consider horror, but I think Jaws, Silence of the Lambs, Sixth Sense, and Get Out are all unequivocally horror. So in addition to Best Picture, I should say, excuse me, The Exorcist was also nominated for Best Actress for Ellen Burstyn, Best Supporting Actor for Jason Miller, Best Supporting Actress for Linda Blair, Best Director for William Friedkin, Best Adapted Screenplay, which it won, Best Cinematography, Best Editing, Best Production Design, and Best Sound Mixing, which it also won. That is
As it should.
shitload of Academy Award nominations for horror movies.
Yeah.
The most until Silence of the Lambs.
Wow.
Get Out got
Best
quite
Picture.
a few too, but Silence of the Lambs and Exorcist are kind of held to like the gold standard of Academy
Nothing
Awards.
beats
Wow.
Sounds of
Not
Lambs.
that necessarily matters,
Exorcist did
but I
have-
think it is important to note that when horror films do get
Yes.
What?
Academy Award recognition.
I don't know off the top of my head. If you don't, obviously that's okay. Do you know what it was going against for Best Picture in 73?
Ooh, I don't. We could certainly find out though.
Why
I
don't you
think it
find
would
out?
be
But I
too
was
much.
also going to say
Go ahead.
the music in The Exorcist was awesome.
You know what
Yes, it
I loved
was.
when I watched it the other night? Because obviously you have the main theme, but the scene when Ellen Burstyn is driving back to her her condo, whatever the fuck you want to call that, a house,
Yep.
Yeah.
and it's just that weird like.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
like,
it's like
ew, like, what is that?
random
Like,
little
yeah, just like
random-
little violin
yeah.
picks. Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's
though.
creepy
it
as
builds
shit.
Tension,
Yeah, because
so
you're like,
just
and then you
like-
realize something happened. Like,
Yeah.
you're
That's like one of
yeah.
the first movies to do that, I think, as far as music goes.
Well, and I even think,
Yeah.
like, in
Other
addition
than
to just
maybe-
music, like, I mean, the artistic kind of thing for, like, the cover and, like, the album and the
Yeah,
DVD, where it's just, like,
just
the
him
person
looking up at the window.
looking
yeah.
up at the window in the dark. It, like, that
Just
says a
that
lot
one
of
light,
stuff,
yeah.
too.
The purple letters, like, it's
Yes.
just- I don't think any other movie has had purple letters except like Eyes Wide Shut and Purple
It
Rain.
almost seems so. The cover almost seems so calm that, like, compared to what you're
Yeah.
about to watch.
Well, it has that
You look at the
iconic
cover-
shot of Max
yeah.
von Sydow coming into
Yeah.
the house, which is just
Didn't that have to
awesome.
do with a fire? Wasn't the
I
whole
don't
building
know.
on fire? The
No,
whole
the
set was
building
on
was-
fire.
Oh,
The
yeah, that
only
was in that
room that
Cursed
was
Films
left
thing.
was that.
Oh.
The
was
only
room.
room that
Maybe.
didn't catch on fire was Reagan's room.
That's
And
insane.
and what's his face? Father Karras. He actually had like a real legitimate like homeless priest come up to him and be like, "You fuck with the devil." Essentially, I'm paraphrasing. You fuck with the devil, he's
I feel
gonna
like I
fuck
forgot
with
about
you.
that, or I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, Max von. You know what? I could be wrong. Either von Sydow or Jason Miller's brother die on the first night, like that they started shooting. I guess.
Jesus.
Yeah,
That's
that was in that
intense.
Cursed Films things as well.
Yeah, we watched a lot of the Cursed films. Thing.
I rewatched
was
that
pretty cool.
today before I came here
That
because
was
I was like,
pretty
well, I
cool.
can't squeeze in The Exorcist again, but I can at least watch this. So.
So, since we asked about it, here are your 1974, because it was in 73,
technically
1974 nominees for Best Picture. The Sting, okay, understandable. American Graffiti, Cries and Whispers, never heard of. The Exorcist, and A Touch of Class. The Sting
Was the winner?
won.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. What
cool.
is Sting?
The Gene Hackman.
yeah, it's an awesome movie. It's really,
Who else
really
is in
good.
that? Paul.
Paul Newman,
Gene
yeah.
Hackman
Newman's in
just,
that?
dude slams.
Gene
He just-
Hackman,
he just
my favorite
brought
movie
it
ever.
Back in the day.
Hoosiers.
Paul Newman,
Fucking
Robert
phenomenal.
Redford, Robert Shaw, Charles
Oh.
Durning, Robert Earl Jones. So yeah,
Wow.
that's a classic. So
Yeah.
okay,
Sorry,
I
you can't
understand
beat
that. Did you know The Exorcist was the highest-grossing R-rated horror film of all time until what movie?
Silence of the Lambs.
Nope. Came out recently.
It.
It
Came out-
in 2017.
Wow.
Oh, dude, I read that whole thing last night.
Yeah, I know. I know you did, and I know they didn't. So
No,
I know the 6
I
horror
gave
movies, though.
my-
I already knew the
It's
6
so-
horror movies.
It's so nice that you read the outline. So I was like, he sends
It's good
it.
to know somebody does.
Did you even send it to us though? You probably didn't.
You never read it, so why would I
You
say
didn't?
it? You guys just like to let me lead you into topics so you can argue with each other and talk. That's
And then when you miss
I
something,
just
it's
direct
fun.
traffic here. That's what we do. So,
I just direct traffic.
so we mentioned that the novel was written by William Peter Blatty. So aspects of that novel and the movie were based on a real life 1949 exorcism. Of the real name of the person is not known. Pseudonyms are all we have. Calling him Roland Doe or Robbie Mannheim. It was one of 3 exorcisms that had been sanctioned by the Catholic Church in the United States at that time. Okay. Friedkin, the director, was allowed access to the journals of the Jesuit priests that actually performed the exorcism for consultation for the movie. And many paranormal skeptics at that time, which this might make sense now, believed that those exorcisms, quote unquote, could actually be debunked as undiagnosed mental illness, because obviously between 1949 and 2020, there have been great leaps and bounds in some mental health services and science, which you never know. Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Of course you can. It's your podcast.
I'm just saying. So even when they were doing the different brain scans where there was an MRI or whatever, it seemed, obviously it's very dated because it was in the 70s and that was how it was done back then, so you want to be pretty accurate. But it was scary to be okay, well, there's nothing there and there's nothing here, and then it's do you want to try electroshock therapy? And you're like,
oh,
that was
their next move.
This didn't work, so
next
let's just shock your fucking brain.
That's where Ellen Burstyn has her outburst in the office,
You're
and she's like, "You guys are all thinking she's fucking
Yeah.
out of her mind,
Yeah.
psychotic."
Well, none of us are parents,
What
right?
that was one of the best
But I mean,
acting parts of that movie. by the way.
Imagine being told that is an option for your child,
No.
right? How horrifying that would fucking be. I can't even imagine that. That's insane.
I want to bring up a point about the thing you just mentioned,
Yes.
that true life story. So
Yes.
before I ever saw The Exorcist, because I saw Scary Movie 2 when it came out.
Yes,
Of course.
And
Oh,
that's
they
a
have such
parody.
great
And I was
parody
a
of The
young
Exorcist.
kid. I was probably 9 or 10.
Scary Movie
And-
3 is the best.
No, it isn't.
Yes.
But but that opening scene, I didn't know what The Exorcist was at that point.
Yep.
And I was already even freaked out by that scene.
Yeah.
Because I was like, ooh, that girl's fucking scary looking. What's that? And I remember my dad was always like, the scariest movie I've ever seen is The Exorcist. And I was just like, oh, all right, now I have to watch that. And then in 2004, I think, or maybe 2003, Exorcist, the prequel, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
beginning.
It looked like the same old guy. I'm like, that's the same
that came
guy.
out, and they had an true Hollywood story, basically, about, the curse of The Exorcist and, where it came from.
Yep.
I remember watching that. My mom let me stay up to watch it with her, and we got, 25 minutes into it, and I was like,
Nope.
nah.
I'm going to bed. The scary
Because it was
shit.
talking about how it was all real and shit,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was, pretty fucking rattled, so...
Yeah, that's how I used to be with the X-Files when it was first on. I was young enough that I would be like, oh, I want to watch this. And my dad would let me watch half of it, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go retreat to my top bunk to cry myself to sleep.
I have to go do all this homework.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's the same thing as Unsolved Mysteries. You'd watch it and you'd be
Dude, that was
this person was
low-key
murdered and
freaky
nobody
as a
solved
kid,
it. You're
too.
like, I
I mean,
ain't
not
go
even
to bed.
low-key, for real.
this music is fucked.
I know. Yeah, the music was the
you-
scariest part.
The X-Files.
Angela Lansbury, too, is the host.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Terrible.
Unsolved
Yeah.
Mysteries.
He was scarring.
Robert said.
I mean, she just...
Sorry,
such a
Unsolved
terrifying-
Mysteries. This man disappeared after
Murder,
child in his small
Murder,
child.
she wrote.
Angela Lansbury.
Hey, so
bars.
guys,
Yeah.
William Friedkin, the director of The Exorcist, just so you know, this is how things were.
Are you
on
sure that's how
set.
it's pronounced? Friedkin?
Friedkin.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Freaking.
Back in
At
the
least someone has to know.
the early 1970s,
Probably
probably get away with a few things on movie sets, a few more things, I should say, than you can now in 2020.
Well, duh, because you can't get away with shit in 2020.
So it's pretty
But-
infamous that he went to extraordinary lengths to kind of manipulate the actors to kind of get the reactions that he desired
Yeah.
from everybody. No one was excluded, not even Linda Blair, who was, 12 years old when it was recorded,
Like
right?
her getting hurt in the harness. Yeah.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
So we kind of already talked about this. You guys both mentioned it. But yeah, Linda Blair and Ellen Burstyn both suffered back injuries on set from being yanked violently in harnesses during the scene where Reagan punches her mother in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in that scene, basically, Reagan, in a fit of rage, punches her mother in the face. And it shows Ellen Burstyn's character gets slammed to the ground, and she screams. That's her real scream, because she actually was injured, and she was reportedly very upset after the fact that William Friedkin used that shot in the actual movie, where she hurt herself.
Then they later all go on to call him a genius for his filmmaking techniques.
I know. It's kind of shitty, but in the same sense, I feel like he's not really directing movies now, so I feel like he maybe came around that karma, but I don't know. We'll see.
You never know. He could have a banger come
Wouldn't
out
you,
that we
though,
don't
if
even
you were
know
that
about.
actress? If that happened to me, I'd want to be known for that.
Yeah, I was like, if
my
that's the
famous
best
scene.
take, dude, fuck it. Like, use it.
fucking
Yeah.
I would
nailed
think
it.
so,
I broke
right?
my back.
Yeah.
I nailed it.
Like, hey, I suffered for this quote-unquote art.
Yeah.
Hey, whatever. So,
Don't be a bitch about it.
Friedkin also, here's another one, too.
Freaking idiot.
In addition to that, so he also fired blanks in one scene without warning on set to elicit shock from Jason Miller, who played Father Karras.
I've heard that. What
Yeah.
scene?
I don't know. I saw it in there, but I couldn't figure out what scene
could
it was
it,
either.
at what point is anyone ever,
yeah.
Right.
fucking startled by
Yeah.
anything?
The
They're just
one-
kind of in it the whole time.
And
Yeah.
especially, he's very stoic and kind
Yeah,
of like,
he
he's
is.
just kind of like,
That is
okay.
the face of a stoic man.
Yes,
The
it
whole
is.
time.
Yes, except for when he's, it's not my mother!
At the end,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's his final break, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But apparently also, Miller was told in the vomit scene, which is also called the pea soup scene because it's pea soup,
See, it's
that
not.
Apparently
the
it's
pea
not.
soup vomit was going to hit him in the chest. And the director lied to him, and it hit him in the face, which results in that actual shocked scene you
Good.
see when it hits him right in the face.
Well, it's just PC.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
good.
It's fine.
That's good directing.
Good directing. I mean, yeah, I guess so.
What are you getting mad about? You're an actor.
No, hey,
Suck
I
it
mean,
up, you're
it's
getting
not
paid.
real vomit or anything like that. So it
pea
doesn't
But
really
it's
matter.
perfect.
Yeah. Also, the Reagan's bedroom set was built in a freezer,
Yeah.
so that basically the actor's breath could be visible while they were on camera, which required the crew and obviously all the actors to dress appropriately on set, which I guess some of these people have complained about in the past. But I mean, how else would you get that effect? You didn't
Right.
have the special effects you do
Oh,
nowadays.
dude, I mean, that's
what makes it so much
keeps
better.
everyone fucking I don't want to be here.
on your toes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No one that's in that scene is in real, say that was a real exorcism, no one's fired up to be in part.
Yeah.
So, can we end this now?
Yeah. That's why I love the Scary Movie 2. I actually talked about this joke today. And it's when, I forget the actor's name, but he walks in and she, spins her head around and, she's, yelling and shit. And he's like, fuck that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that is great.
Yeah.
Which one's in Scary Movie 2 versus Scary Movie 3?
Scary Movie 2 is, The Exorcist, The Haunting of Hill House.
Oh.
I don't know. There's a bunch of shit. Silence of the Lambs. Or Hannibal, maybe, I think,
Okay.
instead of Silence of
I was
yeah.
thinking Scary Movie 3 is The Ring and
Yeah.
maybe that's probably why.
Well, that's when they went from
because
R to
She
PG-13.
I love
she
The Ring,
loves
so-
The Ring. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm a huge advocate against PG-13 horror movies. Yeah.
Well, why?
Because
we
they're
don't
not
need
good.
I
that,
understand
but
that.
I'm a huge
mean,
advocate that every good movie, there should be kids movies, and then there should just be R-rated movies.
That should be
Yeah.
an R-rated movie. It should not be a PG-13 movie. It's
Well,
terrifying.
the problem with
was-
that, which I think that's a good idea, but the problem you run into is what do you do with
Your
all
marketing
the,
gets fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I know.
Yep.
It's selfish, but whatever.
No, hey,
PG-13 movies.
I'm with you.
PG-13
There's some good
movies-
PG-13
Oh.
comedies. So I'll be
Well,
nice. But
PG-13 movies in general have a total, they can be scarier than R-rated movies.
because it's all jump scares. It's the only.
Because
That's
it's-
what they can get away
well,
with. They
but
can't have
that's
any
what I-
gore. You can only say the F word once time. You got to figure out when the good time to use
Which,
it.
do you think they?
and it's always Samuel L.
kids
Jackson, and he's like,
forget?
"Fuck."
Yeah, exactly. Do you think the kids forget about that one fuck just because it said one
They
time?
don't know.
No, of course they were
they
like,
don't know.
they said fuck in that movie one time. Of
Right,
course I remember.
and they're
I'm gonna
gonna
start saying
remember-
fuck all the time.
Yeah.
If
now.
you said
Like,
it, and if
Oh,
you said
fuck
it
are
more
you.
than once,
Fuck are you.
I mean, it's not going to matter. Yeah. But, I mean, I feel like it almost is scarier because it doesn't have all those factors to it. It's
Yeah.
just I don't know.
Well, they coast on jump scares.
All right, so last fact about The Exorcist before we move on to categories and kind of wrap everything up here. So, movie was kind of filmed all over. We talked a little bit about the opening scene of the movie. Anyone know where that was filmed?
Wasn't Iraq?
It was Iraq.
Yeah,
It was Iraq.
I didn't know
Iraq.
if it was like actually Iraq or if
I said,
was
was it Iraq?
Really?
That was actually Iraq?
That was actually Iraq. Yeah, so they filmed that archaeological dig with Father Merrin in Iraq, and apparently it was so hot at the time they were filming it.
His makeup melted.
Temperatures were reaching up to 130 degrees in midday, so they actually had to film everything
Just hit the record.
in the morning or in the late evening when everything was cooled down. 130.
That just happened in Devil's Canyon or whatever it is in Nevada or whatever.
That's insane.
130 degrees.
That's a lot of degrees.
That's hot
so
as fuck.
That sounds like the Speedwell kitchen
Oh.
on a 95-degree day.
Also, in addition to Iraq, despite the movie taking place in Georgetown in Washington D.C.,
Vietnam.
many of the exterior shots and all the shots in the streets were actually filmed in New York City.
I was gonna say I think it's New York City, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not
It looked like
in
it looked like Portland nowadays,
I know, it kind of did.
or
a little.
Seattle.
Oh my god.
Well, I was thinking some of the cobblestone streets and stuff.
I
thinking
meant
Portland,
everything.
Maine, but okay, I got you.
No, no, Portland, Oregon.
Moving on.
Oregon,
Moving
Portland,
on.
Oregon, Seattle. All the riots. That's the place.
Were there riots in this?
No, it looked like a boarded up street. Like nobody wants to
Ah,
walk down.
I got you,
Like,
I got
where
you.
the fuck
Okay,
are they?
I
Oh, that's
see.
Georgetown.
Oh my
Oh, looks like a third world country.
Okay. Also, we were talking about this earlier before, Matt, but Kat, we went to DC a few years ago,
Correct.
and one of my biggest regrets is that we did not visit the Exorcist steps or stairs.
That's
which
in
are
DC?
in
Oh my gosh.
DC.
You know what? It was so funny when I was
It
watching
was.
it
I
today?
googled it earlier.
You thought it was the Joker
15
stairs?
It was a 15-minute walk from where we stayed.
Do you know what was so funny? I was wondering when I was watching the movie where those stairs were. They kept looking, and I was like, "Where are they? They must not be far because it didn't look like some crazy background or anything." And I was like,
Oh, those are real.
and then
Yeah, they're
you
real.
just I know because there's like the rocky stairs
Right outside
in
the window.
Philadelphia and whatever. But I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, where are these stairs? And I was anticipating that it was going to be somewhere in Italy, and you just said they were in D.C., and I'm like, oh my god, why didn't we go there?
I know. It's one of,
now?
yeah.
Wow.
When we go back.
Really?
When we go back.
We will go back.
We're going to have to check them out. But, yeah, apparently it's like
Hopefully
within
no one
walking
dies
distance of the
there.
Lincoln Memorial.
DC 's a
Yeah,
place
it's
that you're
right, like,
Awesome. Right,
downtown
it's on
DC,
it's on the Georgetown campus because half the movie takes place at Georgetown. You know, like
Because
Father
it-
Karras
Yeah,
has like the Georgetown sweatshirts and
Yeah.
like all that.
I like how he's
She's
supposed to
filming
be
the
a-
movie on campus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how everyone gets confused. Oh, he's a boxer. He is? He looks very frail. Doesn't look like a boxer, and he's like 80 years old. But he's like 30.
Who are you talking about?
No,
Father Karras.
Father Karras?
Jason Miller is the one that looks like the boxer.
He actually, yeah,
Karras.
he does look like
No,
Sly
no.
Stallone a little bit. He's
Yeah.
got that
No, he
very-
looks, his face looks like it, but he doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
look like a boxer.
Yeah,
He looks like
yeah.
me. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
like some frail man hanging out.
So that's what I got for facts, folks. So now we usually move on to our categories.
Facts, folks.
So we'll kind of go
boy.
off on some of these a little bit here, a little difference this time around. But obviously, we've kind of talked about this already. But the first question we usually ask, Matt, is The Exorcist a scary movie? I'll defer to you.
Is The Exorcist?
Is it a scary movie?
Yes.
Would you
Yes.
consider
That
it
is
still
the
to this
question.
day, as a viewer at your age, to be a scary movie?
Me, as someone that enjoys horror movies and can sit through a long movie and not lose all my attention, yeah, I think it's a scary movie. I know a lot of friends that are my age that are like, this movie is fucking stupid. And I'm like, that's fine. Like, you don't appreciate it as much, but I also have a lot of friends that do appreciate it, and some that still don't, and they're like, that
Yeah.
movie's scary as fuck. So
It is kind of insane to me that there's probably a generation of people out there, or a lot of people out there, that don't think The Exorcist is even a scary movie, but a good movie.
yeah.
Because it is slower. It's definitely a slower burn, but it's just it's so classic. And I also
For what
have
it's
to
worth,
think,
all those people that I know that don't even think it's a good movie think that like Transformers is the
oh,
best
so,
movie
okay,
ever.
that answers all.
So
I
they
need
love
here.
Mark
Yeah.
Wahlberg, so they're like, yeah.
Oh, gross. But yeah, so for me, in a word, yeah, it's scary. It's not. I've been desensitized, like we've mentioned over the years, but there's still some unsettling
fun.
stuff in there. The spider walk down the stairs scene, creepy as fuck. Reagan's head turning around, still scary. Just seeing Father Karras' face when the head finally turns around, and Father Marin's
just-
like,
yeah.
Damien! And he says, Amen. He's just looking right at her.
It's
Unbelievable.
because no one can prepare themselves for seeing that.
Yeah,
No.
for sure.
If we're going to classify a movie as scary, it should be the first time you saw that movie.
Yes,
Scary.
I was scared as a child, for sure.
The movie terrified me.
And also,
fucking
I think as
scary as
an
fuck.
older viewer, the stuff with Father Karras' mother, that's scary stuff.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
she's slowly walking up like the train station thing, dude,
Horrifying.
like, and then like
Horrifying.
when she sits up in the fucking hospital bed, like,
Yes, and when
That's creepy as fuck,
when Father Marin leaves to go rest, and he goes in with the stethoscope on to
Are
give
we
her
gonna?
some.
Sorry.
oh, the hell.
Can I interrupt really quick? Are we gonna just dismiss his name as Damien?
His name is
Karras.
Damien
Right.
Karras.
But
yeah.
I mean, are you just gonna dismiss his
I don't
name?
know if there's
that was before
significance
the
to
that was
yeah.
before the Omen, so it doesn't count.
We already talked about
The
this.
we
Damien
were
only
talking about
became a
the
bad
Omen.
name after the Omen.
If we were talking about Omen.
I was like, this guy's name, the priest guy's name is
Damien was, like, a very
and
popular
I'm sitting
name
here
back
and I'm
then.
like,
There's a very like
does
big
that
like
mean
I
anything
think
to
I'm gonna
anyone? You guys are
name
referring
my
to him
kid.
as
I don't know, like,
Father
I don't-
whoever, and I'm like, this
Father
is
Karras.
Damien.
Damien.
Yes.
You can
I'm
call
not
him
sure
Damien.
the origin of like that type of name, but I want to say it's like an Irish Catholic.
Actually, if I had a kid, I'm going to name him D.
Karras?
Monica.
No,
Damien.
Oh, Damien. It very well may be.
I don't know the background
Not
of
sure
Damien,
either.
but I
Don't you think if you ever
it's
had a
good
girl,
one. I mean, by
Name it D.
the way that
Monica.
it sounds.
T. Monica.
I mean, the way it
D.
just
Monica.
sounds. I mean,
That's what I'm gonna name
just,
my
I'm
kid.
just saying, I don't know the origin of the name, but I'm just saying that, like, you know, they were saying Damien, and when they said it, it was like a different tone almost, because you were just
Yeah.
like,
Damien.
Damien, you were like,
Damien,
oh,
why you
well,
do this to me?
It was like an
Damien.
old Italian
It's
thing.
way,
not my
no,
mother.
it's way
Well, you know what I
different
also
than
love
saying-
is the random flashes of Pazuzu's.
And
you know what
so
happens
good.
is you don't notice it until you fucking try to. But
Is
if-
that not on the new edition?
no? It's on.
That's
all,
the
no,
original.
it's on the
Yeah, yeah.
original.
So that's
But
the
as it
original part.
progresses, that face gets more and more like sinister.
And if you notice when they're doing the exorcism at the end,
Yeah,
her
she-
face
she gets a
flashes
flash.
to it
Yep.
a little bit,
and that's
too.
when it's
Yeah.
at peak fucking.
Yes.
That's peak physical performance.
Yes,
right there. Yeah.
that I think actually stuck with me more when I was watching it when I was younger than anything else. Like those little flashes of the demon faces, I was like, "Whoa! Like what
Yeah.
the fuck was
To me,
that?"
the one scene that it's always freaked me out. I posted this on Facebook the other night when I was watching it, and it's
Yeah.
when they put the like, what do you call it?
His
His little scarf,
Yep.
and they like put it on
He's
her
just
face,
Throwing up all over it?
and she just like turns her head, and just her eyes like all fucked up, dude, and just slime.
Yeah.
and
Flashing
then,
out.
and then he just
Like-
washes it
Yeah.
up. Here you go.
Yeah.
But it's
Put
just
that
like
thing
her
away from
face
you.
in that scene is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, and like,
And that's
when,
one
when
of the,
she's
uh,
like when she's
that's
she's,
Mercedes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. Like when she's laying in the bed and her tongue just like her tongue just like flailing
Yeah.
around.
Some of
and
the
it's like-
lines that like she
Oh.
says are fucking brutal.
very,
they're
very
terrible,
disturbing.
yeah.
I bet your mother sucks cocks in hell.
Yeah,
Like,
that's tough.
phenomenal.
That's tough.
What a
Fuck
line.
you and your worthless fucking ass, you cocksucking motherfucker. When
Yeah.
they start doing the
Oh,
like,
yeah,
all
it's-
that
And the
shit,
best
like,
part is,
fuck his
the
ass,
best part is when
Harris.
she
Yeah.
first goes to the doctor.
Yeah.
No, it's
First
so
part when
good.
she goes to the doctor and she goes,
And that's what
well,
got
did
people
he
so
say?
riled up back in the day. It's just like, oh my god, this is a fucking child.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
Right,
like
saying this
the first scene when she goes to the doctor and her mom's there, and the doctor's like, she said some profanities. Does she know any cuss words or whatever?
Nope.
And she's like, nope.
And she
doesn't
spits
know any.
on him and calls
then-
him a bastard.
No,
yeah.
and she's like, she told me to keep my fingers away from her cunt.
yeah.
And her mom laughs, and he laughs like, what the fuck is going on?
Because it's like
Yeah.
at that point you're just like, oh my goodness, great.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
if the
it's
doctor
so
ever came to me and was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
the
like,
daughter
oh my
told me to
God.
keep my
That's
dirty fingers away from her cunt,
Yeah.
I'd be like, you're a pervert. Stay
Yeah.
away from my daughter.
Well, I feel like, especially like being raised,
I was gonna say,
being
do you
raised
wanna- do you
Catholic,
wanna ask,
like
like-
some of these things,
You want to
like
ask, like, the Catholic Irish woman that's on your podcast right now?
okay, sure.
No, I'm just saying. It's,
I'm a Catholic
it's
Irish man as well, so I can weigh in
super
with you. Go ahead.
appalling.
Oh, do you,
yes.
do you,
That's
do
a
you
tough
practice?
I go to.
Are you like a real Catholic?
I'm a C&E Catholic.
So you're
I go
kind of like
on
a fake
Christmas-
one.
Christmas
you don't
and
actually.
Easter.
So your point of view means
Fair
nothing.
fair weather fan.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
How the Red
I did-
Sox doing?
I did like 13 years
They're still winning,
of
actually.
Catholic
they?
school, so
I went to Sacred
don't get
Heart
to be
for
offended.
elementary school.
I went to Fontbonne. I grew up in High Park, so
I went to
I
public
went
school,
to-
but I was raised Catholic. So I know,
he
like,
grew up in
all
Randolph.
the
I grew up
stuff.
in High
dad
Park.
grew
I
up
was
in
raised a
Randolph.
Jehovah's Witness,
Shit.
so I
Let's
win.
talk about that off air.
Fair.
But yeah, it's easy to see how some of the stuffed shirt Catholic people might have been in 1973 with this movie being released, because there was a lot of controversy about the fact that not only was it released, but it was released with an R rating. This was almost released with an X rating, but William Friedkin
Imagine that, dude.
and William Peter Blatty,
horror movie
they
with an
both
X rating.
fought against it very hard because they knew
I'm glad
pretty much the
they-
only movies that were
yeah.
categorized as X-rated in 1973 were porn.
Yeah.
So this movie's not porn.
It's not porn,
Like
no.
it's very disturbing and graphic.
You know the other
but
thing
is
is,
it that graphic?
You see,
really,
you
though?
see the
Like,
film reels of like the
For
new,
that
like,
time, yes.
There is this awesome fucking YouTube special, or not YouTube, but it's on YouTube now, and I know you've seen it. It's called Films That Shook the World, and The Exorcist is on it, and it's all about how like people like fainted and fucking threw up and like had problems, this, that, and the other thing, and you look at like the crowd, and it's like a shit ton of old people.
Yeah.
And like you would never expect to go to a horror film that comes out
Yeah, it's like,
today,
why are these
and
old
see
people
you're
here?
not going to see anybody over the age of maybe 40.
Also,
Like-
Hey,
like,
Grandma, what are you seeing this weekend? Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
like, could you actually like
no.
obviously like there's lots of stories of movies that had that happen back in the day, but could you actually picture somebody fainting in a movie in 2020 if you walked into a theater?
Yes.
Unless you had like
Really?
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe like the only movie that I can think of recently where I walked in, I was under the influence of a few things, but was Hostel, and I was like sitting there
Yeah, that
freaking
would've-
out, and I
that
was
would've
like,
done it. That
I was
Well,
like, dude, am
that's-
I really in the mood right
That's
now to
just-
watch
that's
people
just,
get
like,
tortured? I was
gross,
like,
yeah.
I don't know if I
But-
want to watch this right now, and I was like really having like an anxiety attack, and I watched it, and I was like, oh, this wasn't even that really that
Well,
bad.
if you have blood all over the place, of course you're gonna. It's your triggers though. Like
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
like I go to the doctor and
So
I have
any
blood drawn, and I'm
millennial
like,
then-
I remember
bye,
seeing
like-
Halloween 2, like Rob Zombie's remake in theaters, and when
Yeah.
he kills the nurse at the beginning, who it's actually Octavia Spencer.
Yes,
And
yes,
he
yes.
kills the fucking shit out of her, dude. Like with a knife, like just stabs the
Kills
fuck
her
out.
good.
It's like 10 minutes into the movie, and there's people like leaving the theater. Like
Yeah.
they were like holding it, like trying not to vomit because
Yeah.
it was just so over the top, like violent. And
Yeah.
I was I was like, wow, this is
Well,
fucking brutal.
actually, now
Like,
that you mention
that's
it, I mean,
intense.
we weren't exactly in a packed theater when we saw Midsommar, but the head smashing scene with the hammer and like the
Wait.
jumping
Yeah.
off the cliff,
Did
like
you
that was
see
pretty fun.
Midsommar?
We
I did. I
yes,
saw it
we
in
talked
theater.
about
Is that how
What?
it's pronounced? Because I've always thought it was Midsummer, and you guys have all called it Midsommar
Midsommar.
all
Apparently
night, and I
the-
don't want to like
the-
correct you if
the-
I'm the wrong
the
one.
douchey
so, like,
pronouncing
I-
is Midsommar, but
So
If
everyone-
you're gonna hate on the movie,
Wait,
you call it Midsommar.
So
if you like it,
we've
Midsommar.
said our piece on it. What is your
He likes-
piece on Midsommar?
I loved it.
See, I've heard terrible reviews and great.
It's how it
reviews.
is. That's how it was with
There's
Hereditary
there's
too.
No
See,
in
we are-
between.
yeah,
That's how it was with Hereditary.
you missed this
Yeah.
when you were at the
Yeah.
Shanty Rose. We were talking about this beforehand.
Oh
but
Jesus!
it's okay.
I'm
It was somebody very
sorry.
special's birthday, so I
Yes.
forgive you. That's
Happy
okay.
birthday, Smitty.
Happy birthday,
Yes,
Smitty
happy
girl.
birthday, Smitty.
While we're still in The Exorcist, let me just talk about a few quick casting facts / alternatives that I came across while I was looking at this. Okay,
I actually was very surprised.
very cool,
This,
very
yeah.
cool stuff. So Father Merrin, who was the three-eyed raven from Game of Thrones, Max von Sydow. Studio's first choice, Marlon Brando.
That would have been rad.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
But I guess
Make it
so.
off.
Friedkin actually objected to this very strongly because he thought immediately if you cast Marlon Brando, it's a Brando movie.
Well,
which-
Brando doesn't read his
100%.
lines.
Exactly.
He
So-
doesn't memorize his lines. He demands you like have someone with
Yeah.
fucking cue cards.
Well, if you ever watch the documentary about the Island of Dr. Moreau movie that he was in with Val
That movie's
Kilmer,
awesome.
he
Oh, yes.
was,
By the way, I
he
love that movie.
was
Yeah.
a monster on that set.
That movie's great.
He was a fucking cocksucker as an actor.
Oh,
yeah.
he was, yes. Father Karras, a couple people that almost played him before Jason Miller, who is the
Sylvester
father
Stallone.
of... I know, Sylvester Stallone. No,
sounds
close
like
though.
Jack
a
Nicholson,
perfect.
right?
So, Jason Miller, by the way, is the father of Jason Patrick from Sleepers. He's been in a few other things. Sleepers was the movie with Brad Pitt that came out in the early 90s. He's been in a few other things. But Father Karras, Jack Nicholson, Paul Newman, and Stacy Keach. All
Stacy Keach would have been
Jack
perfect.
Nicholson
all
would've
strongly
been
considered.
awful.
Yeah, I couldn't see Jack in that role. Newman, maybe, but Stacy Keach, I could see.
Newman.
Stacy Keach, Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah,
I think Jason Miller was the
No, I'm
best
saying.
possible role for that.
he was great. He was I mean, it's he got nominated for an Academy Award for it. He was phenomenal.
And
in the
it's
movie.
because of
Great.
that. I think there's two parts in that movie, and it's when she turns her head around, and he's just like, "Oh my fucking god!" And then "That's not my mother." That,
Yes,
you know what I mean.
Very good, very good.
And then the scene when he gets hammered with his buddy at his loft.
Yes, that's good too.
Yeah.
Very good scene. So I mean,
Can we also talk about the fact that
it is a long movie, but there's some very
movie?
good character development with
In The Exorcist?
Father Karras.
Yeah.
What?
I was saying there's a gay priest in that movie.
Oh, this is
This
your
isn't offensive.
This is your opinion.
This isn't offensive.
I just didn't know if I missed something.
So the part where they're all downstairs hanging out by the piano, singing.
Oh, the dude.
That guy is super gay. I'm sorry.
Andrew has a supreme gaydar.
No,
very
I'm
very
telling you
good
right
gaydar.
now. He's so gay. He's like, this music is fantastic. He's the gayest person I've ever met.
I love
He's a
that
freak.
scary. That's another great scary
not that
movie.
there's anything wrong with that,
Scary
to quote
movie.
Seinfeld.
Scary
No,
movie 2 rip that they did.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
he's
yeah.
singing all the rap songs instead. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that guy's so gay.
Do you guys know
Nothing
who was
wrong
in
with
the
that.
running for Chris McNeil, ultimately played by Ellen Burstyn?
Crispin
A
Glover.
couple famous actresses: Audrey Hepburn, Jane Fonda, Anne Bancroft.
Couple.
Audrey
white,
Hepburn
something
would've-
white.
Yeah, Audrey Hepburn would have
Jane
got
Fonda,
every.
What was that movie that she was in? It's on that top 100 list.
Oh,
Hepburn?
With she's the blind lady. And
Near
the-
Dark or Wait Until Dark.
Wait Until Dark.
That movie
Yes.
is fucking. That's a Hitchcock. That
Very
movie's
good
so
movie.
good.
Yeah.
Very good
Well,
movie.
of course, it was Hitchcock.
That's one of my favorite. Plus, Audrey Hepburn's a fucking babe.
Mm-hmm.
So
Was. Yeah.
Well done.
Was a babe.
was
Yes.
she dead?
Was.
She dead?
Big Dad.
Two more for you. Obviously, probably the most important role of the movie was Reagan McNeil. Okay, there was a rigorous casting process for this part. Many directors passed on the project because they did not think that a 12-year-old girl could do an adequate job portraying this character.
Or should.
One of the directors that famously passed in this movie, Stanley Kubrick. Imagine if Stanley Kubrick directed this movie. Would have been insane.
Or it would have been totally different.
Would have been way different.
No,
It would have just been
He
The
probably
Shining.
wouldn't have directed The Shining if he did this movie because he would have had done a horror movie at that point.
If he didn't seem into it, why would he
I
do a
mean,
good job?
Clockwork Orange is a horror movie.
I think so too. I mean, there's scary scenes in a Clockwork
2001
Orange.
Space Odyssey is a horror movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think Eyes Wide Shut has elements of a horror movie. Too,
That's
to
a
be
horror
honest with
movie.
you.
That's
Yeah.
talk about
He did a
Sex
movie with
Full
a-
Metal Jacket. That's a
But-
fucking freaky
The
movie.
first half's a horror
That's
movie.
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Catherine,
kind
do you
of.
know who almost got cast as Reagan McNeil in this movie?
Who?
Denise Nickerson, who you may not recognize. She
I'm
played
like, who is that?
Violet Beauregard in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I don't know if I
Violet.
like her
You're
as
turning
much.
Violet.
I think she was.
You're turning
too-
Violet, Violet.
Well, and in the same sense, like you don't know what the actress is like when they go into like a different character.
I think Violet
But
Beauregard-
She was the
Violet-
one that kept chewing the gum,
Yes,
right?
and she was
and then she
very,
turned
like-
into
Yeah,
the
she turned into
She
Blueberry.
had, she had dark hair. She was very
Yeah,
clean.
her dad
cut.
wouldn't
I-
sign
it
any
was a very
contract.
different-
I
I don't
like
sign a
Linda
contract. I'll say
Blair.
that.
She
Linda
had
Blair
that
was
nice,
perfect.
like, sweet cherub
Yeah.
face.
angelic
to it.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her regular character though bothered the fuck out of me. She was so
You mentioned
annoying.
that, yeah.
Yeah, we talking about.
I know you didn't like her.
I don't know, Dad.
There's no dad.
But,
She's talking about her mom. Man, it's just fucking man. It's a bunch of nonsense.
So
But
apparently,
I'm glad she died. So
during this
I should-
rigorous,
She didn't die.
she didn't die.
She
I know.
lived.
She should have died, but she didn't.
Linda Blair.
Are you talking
like
about
the character, like the character, or like Linda Blair?
Her character, like the person, like
Reagan.
like Reagan.
Reagan.
Yeah, it was so annoying. It was like no one acts like.
Well, so here's the thing I like brought up like before we did the podcast is like, which do you prefer? If I'll ask you guys, which do you prefer?
Yeah.
Like the original movie or like the director's cut? Because doesn't the original movie end with like Jason Miller jumping out the window and he dies, and then that's just fucking credits? That's
That
it.
it seems.
And
to
then
me.
it,
That would seem
it
like a
shows
better
the
end.
That
detective
would seem like
in the
better
original
end.
cut. It shows the detective talking to one of the other priests right as Reagan and Chris McNeil leave.
Yeah.
And then I think the director's cut is a little bit different than that. So
I think
I've
it's
seen
her
that.
like hugging a priest afterwards
Yes,
and giving a
yes.
kiss.
So
Yeah.
I prefer that one.
The
one where
ladder.
it shows her like hugging the priest and kind of
Really?
like-
See, I'm all about a bleak ending.
Yeah,
Especially with horror, because
About
not
That's how it
maybe
should
that
be.
movie's just so
it's
depressing.
just
I
the
guess it's
detective
like,
being like, well, like
What
this is
happened?
the second fucking person that's
So
been
this
thrown out
little
of
girl
jail.
just murders
Yeah.
everybody and nobody
Yeah.
cares.
Right.
It's like, well, she was possessed.
It was this big thing. She
while
had a phase.
while we're on Linda
She had a
Linda,
period. It happens.
while we're on Linda Blair, who you hate.
I don't hate her. She's annoying as fuck.
I
but
just think
yeah.
you did, but
Yeah, she kind of sucks.
so Friedkin actually personally interviewed Linda Blair for this part after she kind of passed all the initial acting tests. He felt that she had the chops to act for this part, but was concerned about her understanding of the content of the film. Okay, because it's pretty dark shit in there, right?
Fair.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty adult content.
Turns out, not only did she understand, she had read William Peter Blatty's book. Friedkin apparently asked specifically about the crucifix masturbation scene, and if she knew what masturbation was. And her response was, quote, "It's like jerking off, isn't it?" And she giggled a little bit. Quote unquote, Friedkin said, "Have you ever done that before?" he said. And she said, "Sure, haven't you?" It's a 12-year-old girl that says
Jesus
this.
Christ! Wait, after she had done that part?
No, before she
when
got
she was
Before.
interviewing
secured
for
into
the
the
part.
Okay,
part,
so
yeah.
I was gonna be
Yes.
like, that's pretty fucked up to say
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah, so it turns out she was, up for the part and
Hey, Mike.
knew a lot about it.
Thanks for making this really uncomfortable.
Well,
Yeah,
sorry.
thank
I mean,
you.
it's a
Made it
fact.
very
It's out there on the
comfortable.
internet. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Wow,
I'm
I
just
don't
distributing
know.
information
Alright,
to you
great.
guys.
It says,
Wait,
and
let's-
for the sake of Friedkin, it's like
Hmm.
you could have
For
had
the
like
sake
at
of
least a woman come in and try to talk to her about it. Like,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I think probably. Well, like
It
we
was
talked
maybe
about,
the casting
Friedkin probably
director
could
or
have.
something.
He probably
Any-
could have done a few things different throughout this movie. But
Any woman would be.
He was pretty young when they did
he
this movie.
was. I mean, the only famous movie he did before this was French Connection, which won a bunch of
Another
Oscars and
Gene
shit.
Hackman.
Yeah, another Gene Hackman movie.
He's the best.
Last
I wonder how old he actually was, like for the time. No
Friedkin
older
or
than-
Hackman?
26?
no, Friedkin.
26.
You
He
think
was pretty
26?
young. He was,
Really?
must have been pretty young.
It's a
I mean,
guess.
I don't know about
You could
26.
I'd
probably
say
look
no
it
older
up.
than like 35. Probably.
Somebody Google it.
Yeah.
Somebody Google it. But
Friedkin?
potentially the most underrated role in the movie was the role of the voice of Pazuzu, who was the demon that was possessing Reagan. Okay, so this kind of flies under the radar. This is something a lot of people don't know a lot about. So basically, initially, Friedkin wanted Linda Blair to do her own voice for Reagan's possessed self, but they hired an actress named Mercedes McCambridge.
What's his first name?
William Friedkin. Basically, what they did to this woman, okay, Mercedes McCambridge, to sound as disturbing as possible, she insisted, forgetting in part for this character, on swallowing raw eggs, chain smoking, and drinking whiskey to make her voice sound harsh and her performance as aggressive as possible.
In a row.
Wow.
In a row.
That's crazy.
So he-
That's the real strike.
Cannonball coming in.
Yes.
And apparently, when she was recording her voice parts, Friedkin actually strapped her down to a chair
She
to make
insisted
it
on
sound
it.
like she was restrained.
So- She
yes,
insisted on
yes,
it,
yes,
yeah.
yes. She insisted upon that. I guess there's been some 38. Okay, so that's fine.
Wait, so time out. Did she record the voice parts before she recorded the rest of it? Like when she was actually like,
When she was doing the voice, she wanted to be strapped into a chair so it could sound like she was trying to get
But
out
was
of something.
She was actually like recording the voice then, or
Yep.
was
Yes.
she okay?
Strapped
Yes.
into
All
a
right,
chair.
that's
yeah.
what I didn't
Yep.
know if it was a voiceover, and then she like did her acting afterwards.
Yeah.
but-
No. Like that was the voice. That's all that like.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
You hear that?
Yeah.
That's
okay.
that's what you hear.
All right.
And apparently, after the film was released, it was, she initially didn't want any credit for the role, which her name, if you watch the credits, is not in there. But later on in life, I guess she said she had a dispute with Friedkin and Warner Brothers about wanting credit for the film. So now I guess you can see it in there.
Sorry,
Well,
too
of
bad.
course she
You
wants
didn't
credit
want
for
to be
the
in.
film now because it's a huge hit.
Oh, she get nothing.
Duh.
You
Nah,
fucked
I'm
up.
pretty sure she
No,
got
she'll get
something.
something.
Oh, she probably got something, but,
my
like,
She got
God.
settled. A good
Yeah.
settlement.
Oh, I'm
Like,
sure
Wouldn't
she
you?
probably
Wouldn't you be like?
And it's like they have enough money. They're probably like,
Why
fuck it,
wouldn't you?
whatever, dude.
Yeah, right. Why
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
you
drink-
should have wanted that the
Eating-
whole time. What kind of actress are you?
Eating raw eggs, smoking cigarettes, and drinking whiskey, it sounds like something that you might be willing
In a
to do.
Yeah,
row,
and I
no
would,
less.
and I would gladly put my name on it. I wouldn't
Yes.
be like, I don't want any parts to do with that.
Andrew.
Oh, you made money off this? Oh, here's money. No, I would have been off that from the front.
So, Matt, one thing we
Bullshit.
always talk about in relation to these movies is whether or not this particular movie would make a good haunted attraction, because we love those, right? So, I never ever thought that this movie would make sense as a linear walkthrough type haunted attraction.
No.
But as it turns out, the best in the business, Halloween Horror Nights at Universal in Orlando in Florida, did just that. And they turned The Exorcist into a haunted house at Halloween Horror Nights 26, which was in 2016, in Florida and in California. And it was featured alongside other properties like American Horror Story, Halloween 2, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
So random. Halloween 2.
Krampus, and The Walking Dead.
Okay.
So they turned this into a haunted house where basically you'd walk
you-
through.
wait,
you'd-
Halloween
Can I-
2,
can I
like
pause?
Halloween 2
I'm
the
like-
remake, or Halloween 2 the
So,
original?
so
The
Matt-
original.
Okay.
Wait,
That's
so
random.
let's pause for a minute. Matt doesn't know your obsession with Halloween Horror Nights, so
Well, we kind of talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
maybe a little bit, but yes. So Mike follows Halloween Horror Nights on Twitter and on whatever
Everything,
social
yeah.
media platforms.
Well, we've been
And
to the
we've
event
gone
twice.
At least twice.
We've been twice.
And that's in Universal Studios?
Yes.
In Orlando.
Yeah, I've never been there.
It is 100%. I mean, not obviously this year, but well worth it.
I've
to
heard
go.
they have like a phenomenal like old school monster thing too.
Yeah, dude, you
They
if you're a horror
honestly-
fan, you got to check it out. You got to go.
My
at least
introduction to like horror was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Oh, I love those movies.
I was
Oh.
5.
That's
And
awesome.
Lon Chaney Jr.'s transformation into the Wolfman fucking scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I went to bed. I was like, nope. And then the
That's-
next day I watched the movie again when it was, daytime.
Yep.
And I was like, this is rad.
Yeah.
And then
Aw.
since then, I've been upset. I was like upset. Every Halloween, like we got to go to I called it the monster store. Going to like the Halloween shops and stuff. And I always wanted the Frankenstein mask, but they're obviously
Well,
900,000 billion.
I'm right there with
so.
you.
I think you guys have just become best friends.
Yeah, I've always had an affinity for the Universal classic monsters. As you can see, I love all those old movies, and I love.
I hate monsters, so take him as your new husband.
But yeah,
Like, it's fine.
we've
Like-
been.
I got my 30 movie Blu-ray box set,
Yeah,
dude.
oh,
Yeah.
great. I'll have to trade with you. But so one of the things that was interesting about this particular house is that Halloween Horror Nights is known for their attention to detail.
Yeah.
This house obviously was no different. They've been known to incorporate certain smells into their haunted houses to kind of immerse you more in the experience. Okay. And we talked about the vomit pea soup scene before.
Ooh, so it
they
was
actually
gross.
incorporated a pea, not
Like
your
a pea
urine, but like the vegetable pea, as in like pea soup, and vomit smell into the room where you walk through, and the Reagan actress is vomiting.
Ugh.
The scene,
Gross.
the smell was apparently so intense that guests were complaining after the first couple of nights that they had to tone it down. It was so strong. But it just goes to show.
I would have been like, well, that's the devil. So.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like.
But like that's the level
yeah.
of detail they go into, and like they were probably the only people that could pull off a haunted house for this movie. And I would recommend, if you get a chance, Google Halloween Horror Nights: The Exorcist and watch the YouTube video. There's a walkthrough.
It's like a little walkthrough.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right, before we wrap up, real quick, guys, do you have an MVP of The Exorcist? This can be best character.
Karis.
Who won the movie? Matt.
It has to be a character.
Character, director,
Anyone.
could be anybody. Actress,
Anyone.
actress,
It doesn't have to
actor.
be a character.
Skip over me. Let me come back to me.
Personally, I think Reagan is the winner of this movie. I mean, she's the most lasting character from the movie. Horror icon, Reagan McNeil, my MVP. Andrew?
I say Karis.
Okay.
Because without him, is that demon gone?
Probably not.
That's actually a really good
fucking awesome
point.
point.
He sacrificed himself to kill that demon.
He did.
He the MVP.
I really liked the older priest guy.
Father
I
Marin.
don't remember his name. But I liked just that he was like there from the beginning to the end, kind of until he died, and then that was the end of him. But he kind of carried the story through everything.
Well, obviously, it started out with him
Right.
in Iraq,
Yes.
and you see kind of him confronting
Exactly.
evil, and it comes full circle
He
when.
carries the story through the whole movie.
He ends
Pretty
up
much.
getting killed.
Without
He ends up
even-
getting killed.
Yes.
Yeah.
he
You don't
does.
see how or why either.
No.
Well,
he's
so
all of a
I
sudden-
looked into that before, and they said it's a heart attack that what he dies from is the official
Yeah.
synopsis or whatever.
Right.
But you see the movie starts, you
And
see
then she's
him
sitting
in
there.
Iraq, and then the
Yeah,
movie, like
exactly.
obviously, like
So
it
creepy.
really, really kicks off with the exorcism part.
Mm-hmm.
And when he steps out of that cab and he's standing in the light of the street light and he's looking up at the house, one of the most iconic shots in all of horror cinema history.
Due to a fire.
Very good choice. Great choice with Father Marin. Matt, do you have a chance to think about
Thank
yours?
you.
I agree with Andrew. Father Karras. The whole movie, he's losing his faith, and then he decides to take his own life
Yeah.
over
Yep. To save,
knowing
to
that
save a girl.
evil actually does exist, and he doesn't even want
Saves
to
that
ever
girl.
have anything to do with it again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with you. All good choices. Guys, we've talked at length about The Exorcist right now. Anybody have any final thoughts? Anything they haven't talked about? Anything you want to wrap and tie a bow on this baby with? Matt?
Yeah, I think after everything we talked about The Exorcist, it holds up, and like any true horror fan knows that. And the whole movie, if you watch it, and you watch it again and again and again, you pick up so many more things as it goes. There's little things. It's her being this innocent child to this fucked up monster. And it's not her path to destruction, but it's also Karras's path to destruction as well.
It's his own demons that lead him.
And you also have Ellen Burstyn's fucking downfall of just, like, her being wrapped up in her own work that she doesn't even really get to be a mom, and then, you know, her child becomes fucking evil, and, like...
I wanted to bring this up earlier. Do you think there's any significance to the fact that
He doesn't have
Reagan's father is not even shown in the movie at all? He's not given a name.
That's
We
a
talked
good
about
point,
it. We brought this up
times.
earlier.
Yes.
I Googled it. I couldn't find any sort of significance.
If
like
it
no
is,
sort of
it's unknown.
themes or anything like that. It's weird. It's
It
just
makes
a random
sense.
thing.
It would
But,
make
I mean,
sense.
it happens, but
Maybe
I mean,
her
it was
father
just
is the
interesting.
devil.
Yeah.
Well, isn't there the rumor that she has a relationship with Barrett Dennings?
See, that
Yes,
that was the
there
one
is.
thing that I thought
There
too.
is.
That maybe she killed him
And-
because
So you think
he might have
you
been her
think
father.
that
Potentially.
Ellen Burstyn killed
Her
him?
father
No,
is
the
in
demon.
Europe.
The demon probably brought it up.
No. Chris McNeil says her father's in Europe at this time, and Father Karras says, "Have you told him?" And she says, "No, I haven't." And he says, "Well, you really should." And at that point, he's already dead. So it's like, can she really tell him? I don't know. It's an interesting theory.
Okay,
haven't-
I agree.
Yeah, I
so
don't know. I
you-
haven't been
like,
able to
Barrett
find anything
Dennings
about it,
is
but like,
her,
it's just weird that there's okay. So obviously, there's no father figure in her life, right? And it's not really talked about a lot. And then that guy is randomly thrown out the window by either Reagan or Chris McNeil. It's never shown.
Yeah,
I never
it's a
thought of
little
it being by
strange,
Chris
interesting.
McNeil.
Strange,
too.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's an interesting thing to think about. And
That's
obviously
when
there's
that's
no,
the night that she comes down and she fucking pisses
exactly.
on the floor.
She tells
Yeah.
the
You're gonna
astronaut
die up
you're going to
there."
die up there,
Yeah.
and she pees herself, and like, yeah. So it's an interesting thought piece. Is obviously.
Did we
no
also mention that
facts out
Chris
there about
McNeil,
it,
not Chris McNeil, who the fucking mom is?
Ellen Burstyn
Ellen Burstyn looks just like Susan Ross's mother
from
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. Yes, she
The
does. She does
same
look a
person.
lot like Susan Ross.
I
She
thought it was
really
the same person.
does.
I was like, are you
She
sure
really
this
does.
isn't the same person?
What are your horses' names, George? What is it? What
Seinfeld
and
fan?
Prickly
I
Pete?
like Seinfeld. I'm not like
Prickly Pete and something
but,
else, but yeah.
Yes.
Andrew, any final
Should
thoughts
be
on The
best
Exorcist?
friends ever.
It's the best paranormal movie that there is ever made.
Okay, fair enough. Kat, anything to
Other
wrap
than-
up?
I also like The Exorcist a lot. It's great.
Do
It's a
you?
great movie. I would recommend to everybody, and that's my final thoughts on it. Bravo!
Kat gives it 2 thumbs up.
I give it 2 thumbs
Way up.
way up. But yeah, no, I just watched it, a few hours ago today.
good.
Since I actually watched it since I was like a kid, Jesus, like a teenager, and I even watched the beginning, and I was like, "This is The Exorcist." I was like, "They're like in, like they're digging fossils." I was like, "What is this?"
Like, what am I watching?
I was
Jurassic
like, "What am
Park?
I watching?
Where's Sam Neill
What am
and
I
the
watching
Raptors?
right now?" I was
What
like,
am
I
I
don't see
Jesus
Jeff
Christ.
Goldblum.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, "Should I play it?"
What's the magic
The
word?
dino DNA.
So you guys
Have you seen the
dig up dinosaurs?
So, have you seen the video? It's the trailer. If it was Pee-wee's Big Adventure,
Yes, I have
So
seen it. It's
good.
very funny. It's very funny. So yeah, I mean, The Exorcist is a classic. I don't really know what else I can say about it at this point that's going to add anything new on top of what
Nothing.
I've already said. I mean, if you haven't seen it, why are you even still listening at this point? What are you doing? Go watch The Exorcist. It's on HBO Max right now.
It's a little long, but
You
it's
could probably
worth
go
it.
buy a copy of it at
You
Walmart
could,
for
for
like
very
if you
$4.99,
haven't seen it,
yeah.
I hope
Very
you have a
cheap,
DVD
very
player
cheap.
because you get it for $1.
It's
Yeah,
probably on
exactly.
the red box.
Exactly. The Red Box.
Red Box.
Yeah, it's on. It's outside of Market Basket.
Market Basket.
Morgan, man, maybe give me a job lot for 55 cents, kid.
Jesus Christ.
All right. Well, I think if that's
I'm
all we have on The
fucking
Exorcist,
Boston. You really want to argue?
why don't we wrap up for the night? So first and foremost, Matt, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much
man.
for coming
I was
out,
excited to be on this one. Thank you.
hanging out with us. I know this was a big movie for you, so I'm so glad you came with us. And honestly, we'd love to have you back for another episode if you're up for it. If we
Absolutely,
didn't
buddy.
scare you off too much
Nope,
tonight.
I'm down.
But yeah,
Get me on here with Craig,
thanks
dude.
again.
We'll
It's
have a
been
blast.
very good. Oh,
Where's
dude, we
Craig?
could do that would be a
Dad
good big
jokes.
maybe for like one of our maybe our 50th episode. We could do a big episode.
50th. That'll be
Be
like
cool.
a half century.
It'd be cool. Yes, I know, right? But so thanks for tuning in to another episode of America's Hometown Horror. My name is Mike. As always, I'm joined by Kat and Andrew, and as you just heard, our special guest, Matt Audette. Here's where you can find
Thanks,
us
guys.
on the following social media
Wave like
platforms.
this.
Actually,
Thanks,
one more thing.
guys. Bye.
If you want to, Matt, where can people find you on social media?
Facebook, just my own name, Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
My fucking
Instagram,
name.
Matt Audette.
Matt?
Twitter,
Instagram.
Matt Audette.
And you might also see Matt around town playing guitar at
Yep.
Speedwell at
On Fridays.
Yeah, Speedwell.
Yeah.
Yep. And where else do you play usually?
New World Tavern.
Yep.
That's my Wednesday. I'm not going to be there tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, this will be aired anyway next week, but
Yep.
Wednesday night's over there. So yeah,
Cool.
those are my 2 residencies that I got back after the whole.
Go out and check
coronavirus.
Matt out. He's
Nice.
extremely talented, and support him. But here's where you can find us on the following social media platforms. On Facebook, you can search for
Was gonna
America's
end up back
Hometown
on
Horror.
Mike.
You can search for us on Twitter at Hometown Horror, on Instagram at Hometown Horror Pod. You can also email us at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. And you can also subscribe to our show on the following platforms, wherever you may get your podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, and wherever the fuck else you may listen to your shows. Thanks so much for tuning in. Everyone, say goodbye to your listeners.
Goodbye.
Bye. May the
Don't tell me
power
what
of
to do.
Christ compel you.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and if you're looking for other podcasts to listen to, you can check out the other podcasts on the Inebriart Podcast Network. We have Retro Redoctopus, we have America's Hometown Horror, Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, and of course Inebriart. So you can check those out wherever podcasts are found. Like, comment, and subscribe so we can reach more listeners, and thanks for listening.